Ever witness someone so fast on track you doubt you could ever be on their level? The mission of Advanced Motorsports is to demonstrate the speed is achievable for everyone. With the expertise of some of the best sim drivers in North America, we are set to release free content on social media and comprehensive guides on our website. For those seeking the ultimate experience, our Advanced Motorsport Institute and personalized coaching sessions are the way to go. No matter your level of experience, we invite you to follow us on our social media to learn to be fast.
With the Butt Kicker Gamer 2, what you see and what you hear is what you feel. Butt Kicker. The future is feeling.
Ready to start another great race in the Precision Racing League. Green flag flies, we're underway. Side by side, door-to-door contact. Incredible action here in the PRL. And they come together. After all the fighting, it ends in tears.
Good evening, folks, and welcome to Elkhart Lake for our first doubleheader of the season in the PRL LMP3-GT4 Challenge and the GTP-GT3 series here on RaceSpotTV. Sure to be a great evening of doubleheader action here at one of the most classic US circuits on the road racing series. This should be an exciting evening of racing in both series where championships are on the line in all four categories, and I'm delighted to say that I'm joined by Reese Gardner in the studio and also with Hugo Luis doing the broadcast over at RaceSpotTV. Reese, this should be a great race in both series. I mean, we've got lots of championship permutations on the line. Some championships could be not decided tonight, but definitely going in one-way traffic with only 2 rounds to go after this week.
Yeah, exactly. We're starting to get to the business end of the PRL seasons here, and I'm certainly looking forward to seeing how the racing stacks up around here. We're doing the Road America double tonight. Both series we're bringing you racing at the same track this week, so I'm really looking forward to the permutations of the championship as they'll come out of this round. We've only got 2 weeks to go after this. Hockenheimring and Virginia to round out the season. season after this. We'll all be wrapped up by the end of August. And the tracks that we visited this season have been fantastic. I think every single race has brought some kind of interest, some kind of action. It's been a really good track selection.
Yeah, I'm thinking particularly back to Mosport in this series, and really to Misano as well, where the rain caused havoc, where we saw some great racing action and really did kind of tip the championship in a few different directions. We've had some momentum since then, the Red Bull Ring, Mugello, and the Circuit de Barcelona Catalunya last time out, but we've only got Hockenheim and Virginia to go when we've completed it here at Road America, and this is how we sit in the LMP3 standings. Dayton Lowe leads Alec Bergstrom, but by the slimmest of margins. 3 points that could all shift on its head with 3 rounds to go. Peter Huston and David Duina are in tow in 3rd and 4th with Ryan O'Connor, Christian Garaton and Oleg Lovkov in the top 7, Vincent LaRue, Doug Sorrentino and Jake Browning, the top 10 drivers in the standings after 2/3 of the season. In the teams, it's Hydro Race Geodesic Racing who lead the way by a comfortable margin ahead of Roberto's Angels Team Teal. Radness M Squad and Fiercely Forward, along with Soulpack Precision Racing, are all tightly packed, just over 300 points. Roberto's Angels Team Red, Sim Total Racers, Delta Sport, Jabula Rassery Sport and Echelon Simsport LMP3 are the 10 teams at the top of the tree in the LMP3 teams. But over in the GT4, a little bit of a wider championship, but still not too big, as Aiden Young leads Aaron Myers by 15 points with the 3 rounds to go. Darren Rutherford is 3rd ahead of Francis Castillo-Romero. The man who's been so consistent this season is still in 4th. Joshua Lewis, Reed Gibson and Roy Brown, along with Adam Ostrich, barely anything to separate them from 5th through 8th, with Kalen Tobin and Christopher Rosario on just shy of 200 points. Over in the teams, not as many teams in the GT4, with Valhalla Motorsports Tevir leading the way by 121 points. Team Beef are in P2 ahead of Fiercely Forward and Soulpack Precision Racing, Valhalla Motorsports, Big Fast Racing, Soy Boys Racing and Echelon Simsport, the other teams in the categories. And before we get to the racing action, we of course have to thank our sponsors here at PRL who make sure that we can go racing. First, at Advanced Sim Racing, owned and operated by passionate sim racers, Advanced Sim Racing designs and builds the sturdiest and most durable aluminium profile racing simulation cockpits available in the market today. All PRL members also get a 5% discount on ASR products using the Precision 5 coupon code. Racebox Sim Racing. Racebox offers mid and high-end button boxes for sim racing enthusiasts, from the casual gamer up to the most meticulous sim racing driver. Competitively priced and carefully handcrafted, our button boxes are an enjoyable addition to any sim racing setup. Visit raceboxsimracing.com and get that 5% discount using the Precision 5 coupon code. Kicker. Products are incredible immersion and realism to every game. Feel every nuance and truly put yourself in the driver's seat with Butt Kicker. Radness. It's a performance lifestyle brand motivated by motorsport and founded by professional race car driver Daniel Murad. Mr. Hedge Sim Racing Photography, where you can capture your finest, proudest, or simply worst moments from your hobby in up to 8K resolution. It's a great addition to any sim room. And of course, in Advanced Motorsports, get ready to learn fast with Advanced Motorsports. Follow them on all of their socials to become a better driver, and I do know, of course, you can follow them on pretty much every single social that you can think of, apart from one of the ones that, has 100 followers on. I don't think you can get it on Truth Social, but I'm sure pretty much everywhere else. Go on, be sure to go and follow Advanced Motorsports. But there we go. All of our sponsors, we thank them very much. But as we thank them, we've got to get to all the racing action that we are going to feast ourselves on here at Road Atlanta this evening. Of course, we go under the cheese truck on the exit of Turn 2. But this could be really crucial, Reese, as we work our way through this race. Times could be close, but it's also a very long track, so we might see some differential in those times.
Oh yeah, we certainly will. The first times have already come in here from the LMP3s and GT4s, and looks like about a 15-second gap between the classes, considering that a lap around here is about 2 minutes in the LMP3s. I'm expecting within 5 laps we are going to see the LMP3s catching up to the GT4s, but have a look at the gap at the front there. David Duino and Alec Bergstrom in the LMP3s. My goodness, they are close. And Alec Bergstrom's run in the last couple of rounds hasn't quite been up to his championship leader standard. He's had the gap narrowed there with the likes of with the likes of Jake Browning and David Duino catching him up in the last couple of rounds. Duino, of course, winning the previous round of the championship last week. Kalen Tobin in the GT4 BMW is about to make his way to the start-finish line here in the number 23, and it's all flat out all the time here at Road America, but plenty of difficulty in the braking zones. You've got to make sure as well that you're exiting the corners as best as you possibly can, because the straights here will pay you back tenfold if you mess it up.
And so many straights around this circuit, aren't there? You can really pick up some slipstream if you stay close. Not really, in the grand scheme of things, too many corners when you consider that the lap time for the LMP3s is nearing 2 minutes, and the GT4s is 2.25 minutes. So, you know, there's definitely a chance for some of these guys, especially if the times are already quite close, for them to just stick in that slipstream and work their way through during the race. Jake Browning hoping for a good time as he works his way through this middle sector, but Dayton Lowe sets the fastest lap time, a quarter of a second quicker than his championship rival.
Yeah, that's a great first lap there from Dayton Lowe. The drivers get 4 laps over 10 minutes to set their times, but considering it's only a 10-minute session, if you aren't coming out of the pits and at full speed right away, you're probably not going to get all 4 laps in. So the pressure is really on Jake Browning. He doesn't have as many opportunities to set those fast times at a track that is one of the few in the world that has pretty much the exact same layout that it opened with in the early 1950s, mid-1950s, sorry. I think it's around 1955 that Road America was opened. It's just an incredible circuit, and the fact that we're still running that same layout all these years later is magnificent. Jake Browning puts down his first lap there. That's a little bit off what we're expecting Jake Browning to do. Maybe he was just taking it easy and putting in a banker, and now he'll really bring the pace up. Oleg Lovkov has had some success in the previous rounds as well.
He has. He's been one of those drivers that have been there or thereabouts the last few weeks. A couple of fantastic results of late, and he's been good in the races, if not in qualifying. So definitely someone to look out for as he will run up towards the line. This should be his final flying lap. He won't get another full one in, which is a shame. He's just about missing out on it. But where can Lovkov go? His first time in the number 69 car, 59.4. Going to put him up into P6, so not a bad lap time, but I think he may have been looking for something slightly better. Of course, everybody on their laps now will be on their final flying laps. That time they're ticking below 1 minute 30, so Aaron Myers, this is going to be his last attempt, and can he get ahead of Aiden Young for the first time in a few weeks?
Well, he's had a pretty good run through the kink. Let's see if he can make his way up to Canada Corner without further incident. Trying to beat a 2:15.5. Myers needs to make up 3/10 on this lap in order to get it done. And it'll just be a little lift, maybe a tap of the brakes coming through Bill Mitchell bend there, the left-hander across the top of the hill, and then hard on the brakes for the final corner. Nail the apex, use all of the curve on the exit, and that is a very nice exit indeed from Aaron. Let's see what he can do. As I said, has to make up those 3/10. The start-finish line, you're just waiting for it to come up, and it's a 2:15.8 for him. He does improve his time, but it's not quite enough. Young also improved on that lap.
Yeah, and that time of 15.4 from Aiden Young, just extending his lead ahead of his championship rival to nearly 4/10 of a second. It's quite close behind, though, actually, something we haven't really seen. And Francis Castillo-Romero, a driver that has been so consistent yet not so good in qualifying, up in P3, a very good result for him. And he's definitely going to be hoping to keep himself on the podium for the remainder of the race. Timer ticking away now, 10 seconds just about on the clock. Is Duino going to get to the line in time? That's the real question here. He's going to run up the hill. I'm not sure if he will. I don't know whether he'd be improving too much regardless, but that time we're going to tick to 0. Is Duino going to be able to? No, he is not, and the checker flag will fly here at Road America for the qualifying session in the LMP3 GT4 Challenge. And We can pretty much show you what the grid is going to be looking like, I should say. Times are close. Lots of long straights, as we mentioned here. Good overtaking opportunities as well, particularly down at turn 1, down the Moraine sweep, and then at Canada Corner. But leading the field to green will be Dayton Lowe, ahead of his championship rival Alec Bergstrom. They are in that order in the title fight. David Duino is third, ahead of Zach Hebert in fourth. Ryan O'Connor and Oleg Lovkov on the third row of the grid. We roll on to Vincent Leroux and Peter Huston in the top 8, Christian Garreton and Calvin Myant, who is, I should say, just about a second off the pace in P10. Brian Vorch and Jake Browning, 11th and 12th. Browning definitely hoping for something a little bit better in the race. Ryan Kings, Ray Bartnikovsky and Matthew Falk are the 15 drivers in the nicely healthy grid in the LMP3s, but in the GT4s, Aidan Young and Aaron Myers, P1 and 2 of the championship in that order, will lead us to green in that order. Francis Castillo-Romero, third, with Reed Gibson just behind in fourth. Sam Mayorga and Carter James, 5th and 6th, with barely anything to split them in the times. P7 will go to Darren Rutherford, and P8 to Joshua Lewis, ahead of Caelan Tobin and Jared Birdwell, who are on the 5th row of the grid. Jeff Kaufhold and Derek Putnam are on row 6, and as the times start to gap out a little bit as we get further back. Roy Brown and Adam Ostrich, Travis Chapman and Christopher Rosario, along with Robert McGee and the 17 drivers setting lap times. Sean Mulholland will be hoping to start from nearer the back to pull through the field. We'll see where he can get to from P18 on the grid. It'll be quite a trek, but I think, Reese, if memory serves, that's not the first time he's done that this season.
Yeah, I think, there's a few drivers here in the LMP3 GT4 series that like to try a little last to first challenge. I know that Doug Sorrentino has been doing that in the LMP3s. Unfortunately, Doug doesn't seem to be here this week, so we won't be seeing that spectacular run from him here at Road America. Would have been interesting to see him take advantage of the slipstream. Zach Hebert is one of the drivers with us on Zoom tonight, running in virtual reality, which will at least help him pick his apexes a little better. Those A-pillars on the LMP3s are quite thick, as you can see. If you're running a single monitor in one of these cars, you have my sympathies.
In endurance racing, we often, when there's a lull in the action, we often talk about some of the driver setups, and when it comes to VR, I feel like it kind of gives you that opportunity to not really worry about what's going on in the room around you. But at the same time, if something dramatic happens, I don't know, if the cat runs on top of you, then it's going to be slightly more dramatic because, it's a feeling, not an actual... you can't actually see anything going on, you can only feel it, and that could put you off a little bit more. But it's definitely something that is coming more prevalent into sim racing, isn't it, Reese?
Yeah, certainly is. More and more drivers running virtual reality by the day, and the conditions here out on the virtual track are certainly going to make things difficult. 106 Fahrenheit or 41 Celsius on track at the moment, so the tyres are going to get up to temperature very quickly. They'll have to be careful not to overheat them through the twistier parts of the lap, but this is Road America. It's not really a twisty circuit. There's plenty of time to rest in between each and every corner here, and the space is already being given by the GT4s as the LMP3s make their way down the back straight towards turn 5, which is going to be the prime overtaking opportunity on the circuit for my money. Same for Canada Corner, but you can make passes at pretty much every turn here, which is another reason why I like this track so much.
Yeah, it's a good track for overtaking, isn't it, realistically? And it'll be good for this multi-class racing opportunities for the drivers to kind of pick their way through anywhere and everywhere on this circuit. Hopefully, for our championship contenders, they'll all be fighting amongst themselves, but it'll be interesting just to see how the LMP3s adapt to overtaking the GT4s, because we've seen that every single race. The first couple of passes has been tricky, but then the drivers seem to settle in a little bit more as the race goes on.
Oleg Lovkov ran off the circuit for a second there. I think he might have been adjusting something in the background and accidentally steered off into the grass, so he's already picked up one incident point. He'll have to be careful of that. Remember, in Precision Racing League, drivers only get 17 incident points before they get a drive-through penalty. Only a few more than that, and you get disqualified from the session. Road America is a very old-school circuit with grass and gravel lining the edges of the racetrack, so you need to try and avoid those off tracks.
Going to be difficult here as well, where you're pushing the limits every single time around, and when the overtakes are going to be made, you can find, particularly in the likes of Canada Corner, there's lots of room on the exit, isn't there? You can start to drift wide while making that overtake, and you could quite easily pick up some incident points. But we're getting towards Canada Corner, which means we're nearing the end of the formation lap, and hopefully Reese will be going green flag soon.
Yep, this long stretch out of the kink, the most fearsome corner on the racetrack. There's a railway line that runs alongside the circuit in this section, which is the reason why there isn't much runoff down the back straight as you cut through the woods. But down at Canada Corner, there'll be a lot of passes being made here. It's a turn that's a little bit faster than it looks. You need to be careful to not catch the gravel and grass on the exit there. And of course, a good run through Bill Mitchell Bend will set you up for a pass at the final corner. But I think drivers will be focusing here on the exit onto the start-finish straight through the race. About to get the green, time to get focused. Dayton Lowe and Alec Bergstrom on the front row. Let's see who comes off the best.
3 rounds to go in the championship. In both classes, the top 2 on the grid are the top 2 in the championship, and this is going to be intense. It's going to be important, and this could be a race that swings the championship one way or another. They're about to go green here at Road America for the first race of the evening. It's Alec Bergstrom, and it is Dayton Lowe leading us to green, but Dayton Lowe has that advantage, and I think Alec Bergstrom is coming under a little bit of pressure as they work their way down towards the opening corner. Dayton Lowe has a clear run at turn 1. He can sweep through that opening corner, but it's David Duino on the inside of Alec Bergstrom. The 66 coming under pressure from the 5, and he's drifting a little bit wide. He might lose the position and lose that track position to be anywhere near his championship rival Dayton Lowe, but he's just about held it as they go side by side through turn 2. But what an important start for Alec Bergstrom to make sure he doesn't lose out that P2.
Yeah, Dayton Lowe's already up to a very solid gap as the GT4 field is now away. Aiden Young getting pressured by Aaron Myers into turn 1. Here comes the Porsche, but the Mercedes has the inside line. Reed Gibson going for second spot. The Aston Martin of Carter James is up to third place. A bit of a slow getaway from Francis Castillo Romero in the BMW with those bright green wheels, and a nice clean start in the GT4s. But I'm already seeing Vincent Leroux and Zach Hebert have had trouble in the LMP3s. They've fallen all the way down the field. I think there might have been a crash there.
Yeah, on the inset view, you could see they were just coming together as they made their way through turn 6, rising up the crest. But at the same time, Reed Gibson was making his way past Aaron Myers for P2 in the GT4s, which is so crucial when you remember that Aaron Myers needs to gain points on Aiden Young sooner rather than later, or otherwise that championship is going to feel a lot further away, but cleanly away for realistically the front of all of the fields. A couple of incidents, of course, that we saw in the LMP3s, but not for the leaders and the title contenders, which is good to see. But you can just see on the inset there, nearly 2 and even 3 wide on the way towards Canada Corner on the opening lap. These guys are not hanging around.
No, they're certainly not. Oh my God, Zach Hebert gets spun around again. Brian Vorse also there too. Massive crash at the back of the LMP3 field, and Zach gets it going again there. He didn't get as much damage as Brian did, but he won't be happy with his start. He's down 10 positions. Man, after qualifying 4th, he's already on the back foot.
Yes, had an awful start. You've got to feel for him, really, don't you? That heart rate going a little bit higher than it was at the start of the race, and you can see why. A horrible start for him. He's into the pit lane and he's out of the race already. So he can take that VR off and go have dinner, it seems, because it's not been the race that he will have been looking for. 32 minutes still left in this race. Of course, not many laps in the grand scheme of things when you remember some of the tracks we've been to so far this season. So you're going to have to get the moves done effectively, and Alec Bergstrom making sure that Dayton Lowe is not going to get too far away. That gap well under a second.
Yeah, indeed. We'll see what kind of lap times he can get down once they're in the rhythm. Look at this pack back in the LMP3s. Ray Partnikovsky in 9th place, going to lose that to Ryan Kings, who squeezes him to the outside of turn 5 on the exit. That was a pretty good move. He'll be able to complete it here. Just got to make sure not to run too deep. A little bit of a slide in the rear there from Ryan as, oh no, Francis Castillo Romero has spun in the GT4 BMW. He was running in the top 5, and now that's going to come to naught.
Yeah, I should have picked him up during the before the race, should I? I feel bad now, but a little bit wide, and there's a crash. Oh, that is going to be, is that Vincent Leroux getting caught up in it, who is driving away. But yeah, he's gone around though, and that's so unfortunate. Down towards the carousel. It's a weird place to have a spin.
Yeah, very weird place indeed. Ray is back down. Okay, so we're going to get another view there of what happened between Vincent LaRue and Zach Hebert. Brian Vorse and Zach Hebert just came together through Canada Corner. And this is what happened to Romero. He was losing out here, and he just ran way too deep at turn 1, got tagged by the Porsche on the way into turn 1, fortunately escaping too much damage. And then we will see what happened to Ray Bartnikovsky. Was this a solo mistake? It was. He just lost the rear end coming into the lane, and then car running off behind, cleaning him up in the gravel trap. That's got a sting.
Yeah, 2 collisions in a lap for Vincent LaRue. Not really what he would have wanted at the start of this race, and he's going to have to try and come back from the back because he's shipping time at the moment at this rate. But 2 laps completed for the LMP3s. We'll wait to see when they catch the GT4s, but you wouldn't imagine it's going to be before too long, albeit the track is one of the longest, if not the longest, that we'll go to this season. Top 3 close together. They've built a gap to Ryan O'Connor behind, who is in 4th, and Oleg Lovkov is following in tow. But over in the GT4s as well, it looks pretty tight at the front of the pack, looking at the times, with Aiden Young getting that gap to Aaron Myers, but Aaron Myers not really being able to take anybody off behind him.
Yeah, Aaron's certainly got it a lot to play for here, as Young is steadily extending the GT4 lead gap. They'll pass by Vincent LaRue, who's in the pits getting damage repaired. We've already lost 2 of our LMP3s. Sean Mulholland and the GT4s did not take to the start, so we are already 1 car down in that category as well. But here's the battle between Sam Mayorga and Joshua Lewis, teammates here, and they've been together at many points throughout the season, trying their best to chase down Kalen Tobin in the BMW ahead. There is more to come here. They are just in the slipstream range of the cars ahead. Remember, Aaron Myers is leading that pack for 2nd place. As long as you're within a second of the car in front, you will get the benefit of the slipstream, but no one's going for moves at turn 5 this time around.
Hey, you've got to be slightly brave and quite committed to make a move down there, don't you? Heavy braking zone, but really does tighten up on the apex, so got to be careful when making those moves, and nice to see drivers exercising just that little bit of caution when attempting it. But this battle is quite fierce, isn't it? 5 cars in a train as they work their way down, and multiple manufacturers, Porsche leading, 2 Mercedes, there's a McLaren in there as well, I do believe. And then at the back of the pack, I'm not too sure what that was, but good to see a mix of cars, isn't it? Because you often see in GT4s, if the tracks are relatively monogamous, you see quite a monotone decision on what you're going to go for in the cars, but nice to see some variation.
Yeah, indeed. The car selection in GT4 has been great this season, and we've seen pretty much every car have pace, as the move is almost going to happen here between the cars down to Canada Corner. Easy does it. Derek Putnam in the McLaren having to make a move there, passing alongside Roy Brown in the Mercedes, and he'll yield the position coming into Bill Mitchell Bend. That's given a lot of advantage there to Jeff Kaufhold and Jared Bridwell, who lead that battle. Meanwhile, the BMW of Kalen Tobin is in further trouble here. Sam Mayorga in the slipstream. Can he get it done into turn 1?
Yeah, let's see if this can happen. Down at the opening corner, it's a space where we normally see moves being made at Road America, but I don't think any center's going to be thrown here this time, and no. Sticking in behind, sticking in the slipstream, and Kalen Tobin's got to be aware because Sam Mayorga is right there, and it seems like he's willing to pounce if given the opportunity, but it's not arisen just yet. He's going to wait for a better chance, and that might just about come as we work our way down the Moraine Sweep into turn 5, but we'll wait to see on that one. Doesn't seem like the exit was quite good enough to really go for a send, but applying the pressure can be half the battle at a track like this because mistakes can come.
Yeah, indeed they can. There might be one here for the Valhalla car of Jeff Kaufhold, the Porsche Cayman at the front of this pack. Seeing Bridwell ranging up on him a little bit in the braking zone. It's so difficult, though, in cars with ABS to really go for the move at corners like this, because you can push so hard on the brakes. You've got to rely on mistakes from the other cars on the exits of the corners. Of course, both cars have the luxury of traction control, but the LMP3s do not have anti-lock brakes, so they've got to be a bit more careful with how they make their moves.
Yeah, and it's going to be interesting throughout the race, I think, just to see how drivers start to change, you know, how they're racing. We talk about this quite a lot in this series, but 35 minutes, it's too long to be called a sprint race, but it's really not long enough to be called much else. So, you know, once you're 10, 15 minutes in, all of a sudden you've got 20 minutes on the clock, and those moves are going to have to be made soon. We've also got to be thinking about the mandatory pit stops that these drivers are going to have to take, and when the lap time, particularly for the GT4s, is only 2 minutes, well, I say only, it is 2 minutes 15, that window is not going to be wide, and I think we're going to see a lot of drivers coming in on the same lap, and I think there's not much room for variation, not much room for drivers to try and gain an advantage in the pit lane. Move being made, though, further back in the order. Oh, a bit of an up and under we're seeing from Roy Brown on Adam Oskridge as they work their way towards the final corner to start yet another lap. But it looks like this time round, no move being able to be made. But Roy Brown having to defend and, having to attack here. And he's going to be able to have a little bit more of a go here, I think, because the slipstream has been lost by Oskridge.
Yeah, it has a big advantage for the Mercedes there as they come across the start-finish line. He's not quite close enough for a move into turn 1, but if he gets the exit from T3 right, then he'll definitely have half a chance at least, as the LMP3s are ranging up on them. Have a look at the lead that Dayton Lowe's already gained, and he's got the fastest lap now, 1:59.0 for the 7:08 at the front of the field. It's on for second. Duino trying to get past Bergstrom. These top three, along with Christian Garaton in ninth, are the only LMP3s that still occupy the same position they started. Duino will be hoping to change that.
There are the GT4s as well. So, there's a spin from the number 83 car. That is disaster for Sam Mayorga down at turn 5, and that car looks like it's been towed back. Meanwhile, David Duino still attacking Alec Bergstrom on the way into turn 5, the same corner where Sam Mayorga has just departed the scene. But this is not what Bergstrom would have wanted, to be defending from Duino rather than attacking Dayton Lowe. Let's see what happened here to Sam Mayorga. Oh my word, that was quite a send around the outside.
Well, Mayorga was making the move. He went too deep into turn 5 and was going straight on as the LMP3s make their way past the GT4s here. No contact. That's good to see. But yeah, from Kalen Tobin's perspective, he was just trying to turn in there, and it's unfortunate that Mayorga was going so deep. He was just going straight on past the apex. I mean, the BMW had to try and make the corner, so I think that'll just turn out to be a racing incident in the end. Mayorga tried the move, and he paid the price.
He did pay the price, and unfortunate for him, and he's towed himself back, and we'll see if we see any more of him in this race, but he's going to be a long way down on the rest. Lovkov ahead of Huston as they fight, but looking at David Duino there, he was trying to make his way through, but here is the battle for P5. Huston and Lovkov just about keeping it, level-headed and keeping it straight on the concrete that we are driving on. I don't know where my sentence has gone there, but pit stop starting to be made there. That's Ryan O'Connor coming into the pit lane. Peter Huston and Lovkov, they will continue their battle.
Yeah, indeed they will, and the navigation through the GT4 pack has certainly changed the face of that battle. I was looking at Ryan O'Connor earlier as they were coming out of the carousel, and O'Connor had to go off the track to make his way past the GT4s, and so I think he's decided, all right, we've caught up to the pack now. Now it's time for me to get a pit stop done and maybe gain a bit more time in clear air, because these two still working their way through the pack. They will have cost themselves a bit of time relative to O'Connor already, and they have to make their way past the front GT4s as well, as Alec Bergstrom is doing right now, getting followed through by David Duino, and now they are well past the majority of our GT4s, just coming up to Kalen Tobin, and have a look at how close they are now to Dayton Lowe. He's lost crucial time making his way through the GT4s.
Yeah, I was just going to mention that, actually, that we were talking about how these guys might be losing time. No one more so than Dayton Lowe. This is the move, though, down on the back. That's Vincent LaRue making a move. I believe he's a few laps down, isn't he? So this might not be full position, but that is the 21 of Matthew Falk involved. In fact, that actually might be one of the runners, just a teammate of Vincent Leroux, but coming through. We'll go back up to David Duino and Alec Bergstrom, because these guys are fighting really hard now. Duino not letting Bergstrom get away, and can he make the move into Canada corner? Let's see. It's just nearly bump drafting him down into the right-hander. Not going to go for the move in the end, but he is using all of his resources to try and get this move done. But if anything, maybe just trying to get inside the mind of the 66 car.
Yeah, you heard a little scared squeak from me a few moments ago. That was Dayton Lowe, not quite sure which way to go around a GT4 coming into the carousel, and I thought he would have lost the lead thanks to that. But in the second phase of the lap, he's absolutely put the power down and re-extended that lead. Bergstrom is now past Duino and taking advantage of traffic. That's the beauty of multi-class racing. If you're unable to really make the move on pace alone, once you catch up to the lower class, you might have a chance because your rival will be slowed up.
Let's see how this can work out, though, because for Alec Bergstrom, he's having to look in the rear-view mirror, but at the same time, Dayton Lowe is not far in front, so he is having to focus very hard in two places at once, and it's not going to be doing him many favours. For David Duino, he can just focus forward. Peter Huston nearly 6 seconds behind at this stage of the race, only about a third of the way through, so looking good for Duino for at least a podium if he can't try and improve on this P3. But as they run up the hill and get into turn 6, you can just start to see Dayton Lowe stretching his legs once again now that the traffic has gone.
Indeed, he'll be catching up to Bergstrom in short order very soon. Nice clear air for our front LMP3s. We've seen a couple more pit stops in the last lap or so. Zach Hebert has just come into the pits, and Ryan King's in the 143 as well. Christian Garreton and Ryan O'Connor both pit on the same lap a lap ago, and it looks like those are the only runners that have made pit stops so far. Just a case of LMP3s deciding to pit early to get out of the traffic. That might pay off for them later on.
Might do, but we've seen so far this season how there can be that benefit from pitting later in the race, just by avoiding most of the traffic when pitting early and maybe having to come through some drivers that haven't yet pitted. So that could be an interesting theme. But we've seen Alec Bergstrom go early, we've seen him go late, so he knows what he can do and what the options are to him, and some of the others will as well. But he's going to have to be focusing not just on the strategy, whether he can gain or lose positions in the pit lane. It's going to be on the track at the moment, because David Duino, as he has been for the last 10 minutes or so, right on the tail, and it's not going to help him to see Dayton Lowe setting that fastest lap, getting that little bit further away.
Yeah, man, the first driver to set a 1 minute 58 second lap time is Dayton Lowe in the race. So despite the benefit of the slipstream, Bergstrom and Duino just not able to match his pace. I think they're too involved with each other to really have a chance at catching up to him. They'll be hoping that there's a run-in with traffic for Dayton Lowe later on, and they'll be able to have a chance at the win. For now, Lowe has this race under control.
He absolutely does, and I can't see, unless something big happens, how he's going to lose this on pure pace. It has been a relatively dominant display so far, albeit he had that little bit of issue coming through the traffic, but I think he'll say he was just exercising caution, didn't want to make any rash moves, and we did see him following some of the GT4s quite nicely through some of the tighter corners where there's not going to be that much of a pace advantage for the LMP3s. But we will go back to this GT4 class, because oh my word, look at this battle. Jeff Kaufhold leads it, but Jared Bridwell, Roy Brown and Adam Ostrich are right here as well. There's a couple of LMP3s coming through, but as they make their way down in towards turn 5, this is looking very, very close.
Yeah, Ryan O'Connor, freshly pitted, is making his way through on them, and he's cleared Derek Putnam now at the front of this pack. Putnam in the McLaren having a really good run right now. Remember, he was behind the likes of Kaufhold and Bridwell before, so he's got a lot of potential now to make up some time there. One of the few, if not the only, McLarens in the field tonight, but it's Porsche versus Mercedes, as we've seen so many times in the GT4 class. Let's see if Kaufhold can nail the run through Carousel. A bit more aggressive from Jared Bridwell that time around through the middle of the corner. There's multiple lines available through that corner. You can double apex it, or you can just stick to the inside all the way through. Both are quick, but you need to make up the pace somehow, and he's gotten a great exit from the kink. Might be seeing a move at Canada corner. Bergstrom still chasing Duino there as the move is made for the Mercedes. Has he gone too deep in Canada? No, he parks it on the apex and stops the Porsche from making the move back.
Quality move there, really, really well done by that was Jared Bridwell, was it? No, it wasn't. I'm getting all confused. I'm just seeing too many cars on the screen. It was Jared, but okay, Jeff Kaufhold is who we were looking at. Of course it was. I was looking at the timing page and I thought that gap can't be real, but it was just the good exit that he got. He gained a good half a second out of the corner, which just allowed him to get away and up towards Adam Ostrich, who is, albeit a long way up the road. A few moves being made by these LMP3s as they work their way through. 15 minutes left or so on the clock, just over 16 to go. And these guys who haven't pitted are really going to have to start thinking about when they're going to come in soon, particularly in the GT4s, because we're looking at them only really having another 6-7 laps in this race.
Yep, well, Aiden Young's decided to bring it in from the GT4 lead. We'll see if he can maintain that advantage. I would expect him to. Aiden Young has proven very difficult to catch over the course of the season. This fight's still happening between Bergstrom and Duino for second in an LMP3, though. They are pushing the limits everywhere you look. And the question is, when are they going to elect to go for the stop? I think in this battle, whether you're Bergstrom or Duino, you have to do something different from your rival on the pit strategy if you want a chance of getting past. It's proving to be a bit of a lockstep battle at the moment, and if it can't be decided on track, maybe it can be decided in the pits.
That could be gutting, particularly if you're Alec Bergstrom and you've defended so well all the way through the race, just to have it taken away from you with that track position in the pit lane. But David Duino's going to be hoping that it's not in the pit lane. He can't quite find the line. Alec Bergstrom retakes that racing line, and you can just about see a couple of GT4s on the inside coming out of the pit lane, nearly getting in the way. But that bright green and blue liveried machine of, I believe that could be Robert McGeehan down towards the back, it is not in the way, thankfully keeping out of the leader's way. But coming down in towards turn 5 once again, we're looking at David Duino trying to make the move, but Alec Bergstrom, he's parking this car in all of the right places at the moment, isn't he?
Yeah, it's easy to defend into turn 5, and despite making up a little time in the braking zone, Duino was not able to get alongside, so this battle's going to continue for quite some time more. Aaron Myers has responded to Aiden Young, so has Reed Gibson and Carter James there in the GT4s. You're looking at potential podium for the Aston Martin there if he can make his way through. This is where things are really going to start getting interesting. We're rapidly running out of time in the race, and we still have the majority of our LMP3s not making their way into the pits, but all the GT4s have now.
Yeah, you can see the amount of cars now coming down pit lane. Aaron Myers leading them, but Reed Gibson, Carter James, Joshua Lewis, Caelan Tobin, Derek Putnam, they are all there, and we're going to see how they all filter out in just a moment's time. Here's Aaron Myers. Where is the net race leader Aiden Young, or at least I thought he was the net race leader. I think he's just rising over the crest there. This could be a change for the lead, actually.
It is.
Aaron Myers looks like he might have an advantage, and yes, look at that. It's by a good couple of seconds as well.
That's a fantastic stop from Aaron Myers. 16.9 seconds in the lane versus 18.5 for Aiden Young. The full lane time is where the real advantage has been made. Myers 2.5 seconds faster from pit in to pit out. Fantastic stuff as LMP3s are now making their way into the pits as well. This is going to be a battle of the pit stops between Bergstrom and Duino. And crucially for Duino, he would have spent some time in the slipstream of Bergstrom, might have been able to save a bit of fuel and shorten his pit stop. Let's see how this works out.
Yeah, for all the talk that we were saying about maybe some drivers trying to gain an advantage in the pit lane, none of that has come true because all of the top 6 are into the pit lane. Calvin Mayans actually going to stay out and likely going to take the lead in this race, and indeed he will. Dayton Lowe emerges. Oh, and is that a jump? It is. That's David Duino jumping Alec Bergstrom on the stop, on the actual stop, not just in the pit lane. He stopped for less time. Maybe that's less fuel in the car.
Yeah, stopping for a bit less time and also nailing the acceleration out of the pit box. That's a very crucial part of making pit stops in motorsport. It's not just about the time that you take being at a standstill. It's how you slow down. It's how you accelerate out of your box as well. That has just given David Duino potential second place here. Calvin Mayant and Matthew Falk are the only LMP3s that haven't come into the pit yet, so we are looking at the battle for effective second right here.
Yeah, massive stop from David Duino to get himself ahead of Alec Bergstrom. Oh no, but David Duino, he has hit the car in front. I'm not too sure who that was in the GT4s, but he has unequivocally spun a car around on the exit of turn 6, and that didn't look too good from that angle.
No, it didn't. There was Christopher Rosario in the Mercedes who I think changed his line a little bit coming off the corner. I think Duino was expecting him to move to driver's left and just stay on the racing line and be predictable, but he didn't do that. Stuck to driver's right, and Duino just didn't have the time to react to that.
No, and so unfortunate. He looked like he was trying to avoid, and then in the end just ended up hitting the GT4 in the rear. But he will continue in this race. Not too much damage done to that LMP3 car. But look at this battle in the GT4. This is real side-by-side action. It's Jared Bridwell in the Mercedes in the number 46 car on the inside. That cyan blue finding that inside line first, and he takes the position. That's the second good move we've seen him make in the last 15 minutes or so.
Yeah, and on the same car, no less, Jeff Kaufhold in the Porsche. And have a look at Roy Brown. He's going to take advantage of Kaufhold being sent offline. You might see the same thing from Derek Putnam in the McLaren too. This is a fantastic little battle pack. Kaufhold's pit stop was very quick. Putnam's one of the longest pit stops I've seen in GT4. 20 seconds stopped in the box. I'm amazed that he's been able to stay in touch with these guys with such a long pit stop, but he's going to take advantage in the slipstream. Kaufhold now down 2 more positions. Bridwell and Brown in the Mercedes looking very strong.
Yeah, it looks like that's been the car of choice this evening by no stretch of the imagination. But look at this little battle between all of these guys, particularly with Roy Brown getting away at this stage, isn't he, in that Mercedes car. It looked like it was a bit touch and go with his move as they overtook the others. But we can also take a quick look at the live point standings. I think this is the first time this season that we've been able to have a look at the live standings, and you can see that in the GT4 class, with Aaron Myers leading the race, he is closing that gap on Aiden Young. But even if he keeps up this kind of pace and Aiden Young finishes in second, Reese, it's by no means closing it by anywhere near enough.
Yeah, there's Peter Huston making the move on Ryan O'Connor, who was the first of our LMP3s to come into the pits. Huston now up to 4th, 4 places up. Very nicely done indeed. And, oh, there's a bit of a comeback here from Ryan. He'll pick up the slipstream coming out of the kink, but it's defensive from Peter Huston coming into Canada corner. I've seen moves being made around the outside here before. Does O'Connor have the pace to get it done? It's very deep from Peter Huston, and O'Connor spins.
Oh, he has spun completely around. Oh no, that is an awful position for him to be in. He's got overtaken by, that's Jake Browning, who of course started right at the back of the field, P18, I believe, sorry, not P18, that was how many in the GT4, but right at the back of the field in the LMP3s, and he's worked his way up to P5 already. P4, absolutely not out of the question, but for Ryan O'Connor, you could just see him try to make that move, and even with Peter Huston going wide, it wasn't enough, as that rear end just is dancing around on him, and he finds himself facing the wrong way. Able to get righted pretty quickly as well. He lost about 7-8 seconds in the entire process. That's not just going to hurt him in this race, it's going to hurt him in the championship as well, because he's losing crucial points to the likes of Garreton.
Yeah, certainly is. With Bergstrom solidly in 3rd at the moment. Oh, that was a lot of smoke there.
Oh, that's Jake Browning.
Oh my God, yeah, it is. That's unfortunate there for Browning. Back down to 6th now. Bit of a mistake at turn 3, it seems.
Yeah, big mistake down there. We were just talking about how he was, I was just saying how he could catch Peter Huston, but clearly not. Big mistake from the number 73 car. And we could just see that smoke, couldn't we? As we ran through the camera through turn 3 with Ryan O'Connor, and yeah, you could just, I thought it was one of the GT4 cars, but Jake Browning was the driver who walked it off of the road, and he will have to recover once again. this time from P6. Let's have a look on board with the number 73. Coming into turn 1, it all seems quite nice and stable, and then coming into turn 3, is it a touch of the grass on the outside? Let's see.
Oh, he just lost the
I don't
rear.
know what that is. Yeah. Very
Braked
weird
a bit
incident.
too late. Yeah, I think just locking up the rear tyres for a second and then making an excursion through the grass. There's still a fight going on here in GT4 between Carter James and Darren Rutherford. Carter looking at another strong finish in the only Aston Martin in this field. He loves repping that British brand, but he's under pressure now from the Germans. Let's see if Rutherford can make the move, as it's one of the fiercely forward cars, I believe, that's making the move there. I just want to draw your attention as well to the lead battle in LMP3. It seems like David Duino's still carrying some damage here at the moment. There was Dayton Lowe, the overall leader, making his way past him there, as Kalen Tobin is going to try and get the move done on Joshua Lewis for 6th place in GT4. The Mercedes is a little more aggressive in the braking zone and will nail the exit round the outside. This battle's going to continue for some time. Duino is carrying some pretty solid damage in the number 5, and he's making his way up the inside of the battle between James and Rutherford at the moment, as these two still go side by side down to turn 5. Who's going to win the fight in the braking zone? It's going to be the BMW, who tries around the outside, as now I think that's Peter Huston that's made his way around them. Oh man, what a battle this is.
Yeah, Joshua Lewis took a very tight inside line, didn't he, down at turn 5? I thought maybe it was too tight, and he was going to find himself being overtaken all the way around the outside. But in the end, Jared Bridwell, Kalen Tobin, I should say, not having an option to do that. But a big crash down at turn 5. There's 2 cars down there. That's Jeff Kaufhold in the number 65 Valhalla Motorsports Tavir car that is caught up in it. But we're back at this battle for P6 because it is just so close, drifting a little bit wide through the carousel. Just about keeping it together. Let's find out what happened down at turn 5.
Just a bit of contact on the exit. Kaufhold was coming off the curb and Putnam was too far to the right for him to get back on the track cleanly there, and ultimately both cars getting spun around. That's such a shame for Kaufhold and Putnam. They were on for a fantastic result.
Yeah, and gutting really for both of them, as so late into the race with only 4.5 minutes left on the clock. That is such a disappointing thing, and oh my word, that is quite a hit. And look at the, I mean, just the escapism by the other cars to avoid, and just trying to get off the racing line there. Cars going left and right. I think 2 went left and 2 went right before it got out of the way. So really scary moments, and a big hit into the wall as well. I'm surprised that car didn't need to be towed.
Yeah, I'm surprised as well. It's a big shame for Ryan O'Connor. You know, he was the first car to pit. He was looking for a fantastic result here tonight, but it's going to come to nothing after that unfortunate solo error coming out of the carousel. Meanwhile, this battle between Lewis and Tobin still going on. Lewis super late on the brakes through turn 1 and taking it round the outside. These guys aren't able to get out of each other's hair right now.
They are all over each other at this stage of the race, and why wouldn't they be? 3.5 minutes left to go. But look at the exit there. Kalen Tobin really trying to apply the pressure. Nearly Tokyo drifting it through the corner, but he's just tucking into the slipstream and trying to keep right in behind and put him under as much pressure as he can. Maybe a late braking move once again. The inside line he'll choose this time, as Joshua Lewis won't have that benefit this time around. Can he control that braking zone? It looks like he can in the BMW. And Kalen Tobin, what a move up to P6. It looked for all the world that just for a moment there that Joshua Lewis was going to try it around the outside, but in the end, Kalen Tobin has got it wrapped up, and can he pull away now?
Yeah, that is the question. The LMP3 coming through there would have distracted them a little bit, and they had to fall back into line there, resume their battle properly now that they've got some clear track. Oh dear, this battle's going to go on for quite some time, I think. I love seeing how the cars match up as well. The Mercedes sits a bit lower and has a wider track than the BMW does, so you'd think that it would hold a bit more speed through the corners, but I think the Mercedes is also a little heavier than the BMW with maybe slightly more power. So the challenge is on here for Kalen Tobin to see if he can hold on to this position. That is a fantastic exit from the kink there for Josh Lewis.
Yeah, let's see if he can really make this work. Joshua Lewis down the inside of Kalen Tobin. These guys are having a real ding-dong battle, going one way, going the other. But in this occasion, it's Kalen Tobin who continues his run in P6. They're a long way off of Carter James in P5, and I'm sure that is out of their thoughts at the moment because it's a long way down the road. But they are fighting over P6. They are fighting tooth and nail for it. Who can blame them? So late into the season, every single point is going to count now.
Yeah, exactly. This is it's crunch time, as you'd say, but hopefully the crunch doesn't come from a bumper hitting a bumper or a barrier. Slipstream once again for Joshua Lewis coming down to turn 1. He's not going to make the move there, not far up enough alongside, but we've seen the majority of moves being made down at turn 5 at the tight left-hand corner. This might be the chance that Josh Lewis needs to get it done. He absolutely nailed the apex at turn 3 there and has gotten a bit more momentum through the corner. That'll be crucial.
See if he can make this work for him. I mean, this has been going backwards and forwards for the past 5 minutes. A great battle in the closing stages of the race here at Road America, but outside line this time is chosen by Joshua Lewis. The defensive line is held by Kalen Tobin and is broken late enough so that there is no way around the outside. Very difficult to make a move at the top of the hill here if you're on the outside line, nigh on impossible, and you can see it there as Tobin just about able to defend, and Joshua Lewis no way through for the Mercedes car, but bouncing their way through 7 towards turn 8. All in the wing mirrors, isn't it? This is not comfortable if you're Kalen Tobin.
No, not at all. And you saw on the exit of turn 5 there that he was able, that Josh Lewis was able to restrict Kalen Tobin's line. He wasn't able to take as wide of an exit as he wanted because the Mercedes was alongside. Well, it's once again the option down at Canada Corner for Lewis to try and get the move done, but it's going to be difficult. It's proven very difficult over the course of the race, and he's wide through the kink. He's lost a crucial bit of time there. I don't think he'll be close enough to get the move done down at Canada Corner. Timer hits 0, and Dayton Lowe is across the line here. It's going to be the last lap of the race now for the LMP3s, which means it's now time for Lewis to consolidate and make his move.
Yeah, so for Lewis at this stage, he needs to try and make it now or never. Got to be careful as well as the LMP3s make their way through. But also, if you're Alec Bergstrom, a name we haven't talked about in the last 10 minutes or so, despite being right there in the championship, he needs to make some kind of move on David Duino, really, to keep himself in the championship, because David Duino is just... It's just preventing him, really, from having any real chance at keeping up with Dayton Lowe in the title fight. But for Duino at this stage, this is wonderful. He won last time out, and he's doing a great job here at Road America.
He certainly is. Dayton Lowe is approaching Canada Corner now to take a dominant victory in the LMP3s. In the GT4s, the lead battle is still on. Aaron Myers continuing to hold on to it from Aiden Young, but Aiden's been just chipping away at that gap ever since the pit stop was completed. So after Lowe crosses the line here, we'll absolutely bring you that GT4 battle and see if Aiden Young can grab the win back. But a fantastic drive from the 708.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. What a drive from Dayton Lowe. He has put not a foot wrong in the last 2-3 rounds, and he fully deserves this win once again at Road America as he extends that championship lead with only 2 rounds to go. Fastest lap to boot for the 708, and let's see if this can, put him with one hand on the title with only 2 races left in the season. For Aaron Myers, though, it's not as easy because Aiden Young is right there. It seems like he's a little bit too far back to make the move, though.
Yep, he will have to be very aggressive on the way into Canada Corner. Makes up a couple more tenths, but I don't think it's going to be enough. He'll have to rely on a mistake from Aaron Myers in the last couple of corners here. Myers has been staring at the rear end of Aiden Young for pretty much the whole season, and look at this. What a fantastic pit stop it was from Aaron Myers. He was able to get that lead, and he is going to keep it. Young tried his hardest to catch up, but Aaron Myers is your winner in GT4. What a brilliant job.
Yeah, I mean, Aiden Young's become a bit of a regular up here in the interview booth after the race, after his fantastic run of form. But Aaron Myers is going to be very, very pleased that he's dethroned the championship leader and keeps himself very much in that fight with the 2 rounds left to run. Only about 12 points in it, I do believe, with so little time left to really make much up. So let's see as we run up to the line. This is the battle between Caelan Tobin that we've seen all race long with Joshua Lewis. And in the end, it's Caelan Tobin just about coming out on top. Not much in it at all, but in the end, what a battle race, because they went on it for about 5, 6, 7 minutes.
Yeah, that was magnificent. Let's go through our results then. Dayton Lowe with a fantastic job in the LMP3s, 6 seconds ahead of David Duino. Alec Bergstrom tried his best but could not repass David Duino after he'd gotten the move done. Huston and Browning will round out our top 5, with Lovkov finishing 30 seconds back, just a couple seconds ahead of Christian Garaton. Zach Hebert, we saw him run into some dramas early on, but he had a quiet recovery to 8th spot. Good job there from the 5'11", with Calvin Myant and Matthew Falk rounding out the top 10, and those are your last finishers in the LMP3s. Ryan O'Connor, Ryan Kings retiring. Vincent LaRue made it back out on track, but could only settle for 13th. Bartnikovsky and Vos retiring very early on. How are the GT4s looking?
Yeah, well, it was a tight battle in the GT4s all the way through, wasn't it? But only half a second in it come the flag. I think that's the tightest finish we've had all season between Aaron Myers and Aiden Young. But in the end, the number 22 Valhalla Motorsports Tavir driver comes out on top. Reed Gibson is on the podium after a very quiet display from him, but very good all the same. He leads ahead of Darren Rutherford in that regard. Carter James and Caelan Tobin 5th and 6th. Joshua Lewis, Jared Brookwell, Roy Brown and Adam Ostrich in the top 10. As the results roll in. More drivers in the GT4 than the LMP3s, with Jeff Cowfold, Derek Putnam, Travis Chapman and Robert McGinn all being on the lead lap. 14 drivers, so good to see. Christopher Rosario, Sam Mayorga, Francis Castillo-Romero and Sean Mulholland, none of them seeing the checkered flag, but all of them at least having a couple of good laps, particularly the likes of Sam Mayorga and Christopher Rosario. But Reese, I believe we can talk to our LMP3 winner.
Indeed we can. Dayton Lowe joins us now. Congratulations, Dayton. Another fantastic round for you, but traffic certainly played a factor here, even though there's plenty of space between the corners.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Like, traffic was definitely a little sketchier than a lot of the other circuits we've been to, but I kind of played it a little conservative this time around, because I know that the points gap between Alec and I is not very large. So I'd rather finish the race than, risk it all. But other than that, I'm pretty happy with the race.
Yeah, as you should be. Road America certainly is a great sports car racing circuit. Were there any big challenges that you faced here preparing for the race and going through it? Any parts of the circuit that really jumped out to you as needing to get right?
So preparing, I just did a whole lot of official races this week, so that was a lot of my preparation. It was a very strong week SOF wise, so that really helped in the practice. As for corners, the third sector is incredibly important to get right, and I put a lot of focus onto the third sector as a whole. As for challenges, like during the race, I was short about 1/10 of a lap, and I found out about 2 laps from the finish. So I had to frantically try to save as much fuel as I can, and I crossed the line with about half a liter of fuel left. So that was terrifying, but I made it work.
Yeah, you did. You built up that gap crucially over the course of the race, and ultimately getting you another victory and championship lead extended by the slimmest of margins. Thanks for joining us, Dayton, and hopefully get a chance to chat to you next week.
Appreciate it. Hope to be back here soon. And shout out Colin for making the set. Unbelievable set.
Yeah, certainly showed there for Dayton Lowe. The next driver that we are going to chat to, David Duino, is not with us, so it looks like we'll have to go straight to the GT4s here, Dara. Our winner, Aaron Myers, with us now.
Yeah, good evening, Aaron. Congratulations on the win. It was tight in the end, though. Talk us through that race, because, I mean, you were behind in that first stint, but you got that jump in the pit stop. What was the thinking behind the strategy?
I was kind of just running the tank as dry as it would go. I was pretty surprised that Aiden went in a lap before me, to be honest. Hello?
We seem to have lost Dara Thacker there for the moment. Apologies for that, Aaron. But yeah, following on from that point, after the lead was taken there, we saw Aiden putting on the typical Aiden drive and catching right up to you by the end, but managing to hold on in the last couple of laps. What was your main focus after coming out of the pits?
I was really just trying to ignore how close he was and just running my laps, lap after lap, hitting my marks, and just nailing every single lap I could. So thankfully I had a good spotter in my ear. He was keeping me calm and collected.
Yep, indeed. Well, a win on the board for you once again in the Porsche, Aaron, and that will narrow the championship gap just a little bit. But with 2 rounds to go, there's not much more chance for grabbing that lead back. So I suppose you'll be focusing on just being as fast as possible.
Absolutely. I think if I can win the next 2, maybe a couple extra points, I might have a chance.
All right, fantastic stuff, Aaron. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Aaron Myers there winning the GT4 class, and now that Dara Thacker is back, I think he's caught up with Aiden Young, who finished 2nd in GT4.
Yeah, thankfully Aiden Young's internet a little bit better than mine somehow this evening. Aiden, congratulations on the P2. Sadly not the win, but you were so close this time round. I mean, you're still looking comfortable in the championship. There's got to be positives to take.
You know, it was good by Aaron. Congrats on the win to him. You know, he was fast this race. So when I saw him catching before the pit stop, I was like, yeah, I might need to push a little bit harder. So I tried to push while trying to manage my tires because the track temp was pretty high. So the GT4s at this track, they go through the tires pretty quickly, so it's kind of, you have to manage them while trying to push. So that's what I was trying to do. And then in the pit stop, I took too much fuel, similar to Portimao last season when I was racing against Floyd. Just a little bit too much fuel, and that hurt me. I ended up getting it down to where I only had about 0.5 left, but when I came out of the pits, I said I was going to have like 1.9 at the end of the race. But I was just pushing so hard, I got it all the way down to 0.4 at the line. So
Now, I mean, it was close, wasn't it, in the end? Did you think you could get him on that final lap, or was he just a little bit too far away?
I would have needed one more lap.
It was close, though.
That gap was, it was close, but it wasn't like, it's not like draft on Nürburgring draft. I mean, it's similar because it's worth a lot, but I probably would have needed to be at least within 3/10 or 2/10 of him to really have had a chance to take the win from him, which would have mean I would have needed another lap, but we wouldn't have had another lap because I would have ran out of fuel.
I mean, these margins are so tight. One more final question though, Aiden. You're going into the final 2 rounds with a relatively comfortable margin. How confident are you on the title?
It's still 2 rounds to go. You know, anything can happen. So it's just focus into the final 2 rounds. Just be calm, be collected, and then just keep clean. And then we'll see what happens by the time we get to VIR.
That's exactly what we want to hear. Thank you, Aiden. Congratulations, and hopefully we'll be speaking to you again next week.
Thank you. See you next week.
Aiden Young there, P2, man. But as I said, Reece, comfortably leading the championship. Let's see if he can go all the way.
Yeah, let's see indeed. Next up, we've got Reed Gibson, who managed to put a second Mercedes onto the podium. Good stuff, Reed. You've been searching for those podium finishes all season, and you've certainly been close in the past, and this was a very secure one here at Road America, but you had to really work for it. Gibson's mic is currently muted. We'll give
Sorry,
it a
guys.
moment there.
There we go. Yeah, no, I want to call this a hard race. I mean, there's not much to do. You can't really pass and pull away. So I just kind of did my thing, saved fuel, made up a lot of time on the pit stop, and once I came out, I realized that Carter was 3 seconds behind, and I had enough fuel to push the end, and was just able to manage the gap, even though I don't really have much pace. Kind of feels like we're racing in GT 4.5 with Aiden and Aaron up there.
Yeah, indeed. It's very difficult to match the pace of those guys up the front. But you weren't just battling the track and the cars in your class. You were battling the LMP3s as they made their way through as well. We saw some interesting goings on between the classes, especially in the middle of the race. Any scary moments that step out to you, especially at turns like the carousel and the kink?
Yeah, I mean, the carousel is always a scary one because, you want to stick to your line and, be predictable, but, you see them jink left, jink right, and you're not sure if they're going to do something maybe a little bit silly. So overall, I think it was well behaved enough for us at the front because we were spread out. I have a lot of sympathy for those and towards the back of the pack that were a little bit more bunched up. But, that's part of the fun of multi-class racing is you don't know what's going to happen. And, it's a little bit of gambling and a little bit of strategy all at once.
Well, keeping that in mind, do you have any thoughts regarding Hockenheim next week? Second last round of the championship, plenty of heavy braking zones there, so the LMP3s will at least be able to pass in the braking zones, but a much twistier circuit than Road America.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Mercedes is going to struggle there a lot. I mean, I think, Aiden's shown that he is a 6.8K driver for a reason. It's unfortunate that he called out the win and wasn't able to secure it this weekend. But I think next week it's going to be more of the same, where the Porsche's probably going to be better. So we'll see what happens. I'm just going to kind of do my thing, try to run a clean race, and attempt not to spin myself out and crash out while having some fun on the side, because it's been a pretty fun league, and I appreciate you guys throwing it on.
All right, fantastic stuff. Thanks very much for joining us, Reed, and hopefully another podium on the cards for you in the last 2 rounds so we can talk to you again.
Yeah, sounds good. Hopefully I make it back. Have a good one, guys.
Reed Gibson in the Mercedes there. And finally, Dara, we are going to switch back to LMP3 because David Duino had a very strong second place.
Yeah, it was... David, I mean... sorry, David, I cut you off there. You've had a great run of races, though. This really must be some good momentum into the final rounds.
Yeah, it's pretty enjoyable. I've had a good fun battle there with Alec, seeing what we could do with traffic and fuel saving. So that was a lot of fun, seeing what we could get out of that.
I mean, in the opening stages of the race, where the first couple of times you passed those GT4s, it seemed like you three at the front bunched up. I mean, were there any hopes that you had of maybe getting past Dayton Lowe, or was he always a little bit too far in front?
There was a little bit of a glimpse of hope, but I knew Dayton just had a little bit more than what I could keep up with tonight, so I knew it would have to come down to a mistake from him, which he's not super prone to mistakes. So I was just perfectly content working with Alec, trying to see what we could do. I figure worst case, we're there to capitalize. If not, we'll just battle it out for second and third.
A good result all the same, though. And I mean, this is, as I mentioned, a very good run of races for you. I mean, this must give you confidence with Hockenheim coming up, VIR in a couple of weeks. Are those 2 tracks that you're kind of looking forward to, or is that momentum hopefully maybe going to stop?
VIR I'm definitely looking forward to. Hockenheim, I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to make it. My flight gets in decently late, and getting back will be a little tight, so it will be interesting if I get back or not. I'll be prepared if I am, but I can't make any guarantees, sadly.
And you never know with air travel these days whether you'll even be delayed or not. So
yeah.
We'll hope to see you next week, but we won't be making any promises. Thanks, David, for joining us. Great result for you.
Thank you guys very much.
Talk to so many of our podium sitters in the LMP3 GT4 Challenge for the PRL this season. Only 2 more rounds to go. Reed Hockenheim and VAR to come. They should be 2 more great rounds.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I'm really looking forward to Hockenheim. Obviously a circuit that was modified controversially in the early 2000s, but I think the layout that we've ended up with has been great for modern racing. It's certainly provided some fantastic action in many of the broadcasts I've been a part of, and VIR to end off the season. America's Nürburgring. How do you like it? That's going to be a brilliant location for the final round of the championship.
Yeah, and very tight and twisty, isn't it? I mean, overtaking can be difficult there, so going to be important to get that qualifying time in, especially if the title is on the line. But normally at this point in the broadcast, I'd be talking about where we're off to next. But of course, we are staying exactly where we are. Road America, we're back there again for the GTP and the GTP and the GT3. So there's too many. I will get this right before the end of the season. But the GTP and the GT3 series rolls into town here at Elkhart Lake, and we'll hopefully see some more great action. 45 minutes on the clock rather than the 35 that we have just seen. A little bit longer for these guys to sort themselves out and race. We've seen throughout the season how the extra time can kind of affect the drivers because they can be a little bit more conservative at the start of the race, but really go for it towards the end.
Yeah, indeed they can. We've had some brilliant races so far this season. I think back to the third round at Daytona there for one of the highlights of the season for me. But it's been just like the LMP3 and GT4s in that every single round has provided some kind of drama, some kind of action. And, well, we will go to Barcelona and Le Mans to end off the season here. It's fitting, I think, to end the season at one of the stalwart sports car racing circuits. In the GTP standings, though, Dara, it is the Pat Pelchar show.
Really is. He is leading that championship by a decent margin now. It's 38 points now ahead of Graham Wildmon, who is in P2, who himself has a relatively comfortable margin over Bradley Holly, but that's where it starts to tighten up. Jeremy Carter and Darian Roy, 4 points between them, with Jack Hedgecox and Nicholas Schwartz tied on 212, with Rodrigo Abreu, Nathan Ray and Alex de Almeida just in tow, just inside that top 10. In the team standings for the GTPs, though, we are looking at a relatively different picture, aren't we? A big lead, or relatively big lead, for Waterback Racing Overdrive, who lead by 41 points ahead of Solpac Precision Racing, who are right next to Go Win Racing. Pax Oceania and Blue McCall E-Motorsports from 4th and 5th, with Solpac Precision Racing, Can and Simca 6th and 7th. Fiercely Forward a long way back in 8th, and Vice Motorsports yet to get off the mark in 9th. We'll see if they can pick up any points in this season. Over in the GT3s, though, we are led in the championship by Brett Gardner, who has a 23-point advantage over Jake Cummings. These are bigger gaps than we saw, of course, in the earlier series. Ted Lovendick and Chris Stewart are just behind the P2 man Cummings, with Eric Fenson leading his brother William in 5th and 6th. Evan Henneman and Bowie Suen are 7th and 8th, with Corey Saccone and Kerry Corcoran running out the top 10 in this series. Over in the teams, though, it's being led by a very comfortable margin by the Tech Sport Academy by AMS. 73 points they have over the Fenson brothers. Drive Trainer Motorsports are a little bit further out of it, back on 430, with DFL Racing and Take On Sim Sports nearly together on 350 there or thereabouts. Big Fast Racing and Solpac Precision Racing 6th and 7th, Waterback Racing back row, and AGS Blackthorn Racing. 9 teams that we have, and I can tell you that we have already finished qualifying here at Road America for this race, so we'll be able to show you the grid in the not too distant future. And I think there we are. Pat Pelchat, unsurprisingly to some, will be leading us to green once again here. Rodrigo Abreu in P2, and he's ahead of Bradley Harley. Alex de Almeida in P4 with Jeremy Carter in 5th. And the closest man to challenge Pat Pelchat, Graham Wildmon, will start from P6. Looking further back as the grid scrolls on, it's Nicholas Schwartz and Nathan Ray on the 4th row, with Matthew Denise and Jeff Evans on the 5th. Jerome Bartiome, who's had a couple of races where he's been wanting a little bit more of late. Let's see what he can do from 11th, with Carsten Quint back in 12th. A few more drivers on the grid this week. It's Darian Roy and Kevin Santana, again a little bit bigger than we've seen in the last couple of weeks, and that is the draw that Road America does give, with 14 cars in the GTPs. Over in the GT3s, though, it's Ted Lovendick with, I believe, his second pole of the season, ahead of Eric Fenson and William Fenson. Two good showings from both of the brothers up in the top 3. Mark Kaden and Chris Stewart 4th and 5th, with Jake Cummings just on the edge of that top 6. Looking further back, though, it's Richard Saavedra and Gabriel Alvarado on the 4th row. Sean Murphy and Doug Evans will find themselves on the 5th, with a trio of green machines, with Bowie Suen and Teji Yankee on the 6th row of the grid. Sean Stecker, I should say, and Kerry Corcoran in 13th and 14th, with Evan Henneman and Travis Pruitt on the 8th row. Corey Fenson, the 3rd of the brothers, in 17th, with Brett Gardner in 18th. Championship leader, that is, starting all the way back in 18th. A disaster in qualifying for him. See if he can recover, or whether he is going to be stuck. They are the 18 cars on the grid, though, as we are on the formation lap race. Bigger grids than we've seen in the last couple of weeks. You'd expect at Road America it can handle it with the size of the circuit, but I think the story of qualifying really is the fact that we have got a bit of a worry, I have to say, for the championship leader in the GT3s.
Yeah, indeed. This is certainly going to be interesting for Brett Gardner, not taking part in qualifying. He's got a long way to go if he wants to try and get into the top 5, let alone the podium. Maybe even a top 10 would be in jeopardy. It's a bit warmer on track than it was for LMP3s and GT4s. 46 degrees Celsius or 114 Fahrenheit out there, which means that they are going to be struggling through the fast corners. It's going to be understeer city.
half a second there, Reese. I thought you meant it was 46 ambient Celsius, and I had a minor heart attack.
Oh, no.
Because, yeah, I don't think either of us would have been able to cope in that. You probably more than me, but yes, very hot on the track, meaning that those tyres might be liking it too much, especially if you're in the dirty air of the cars in front. So we'll have to keep a keen eye on that, particularly in the GT3s, because we see them running close quite often.
Yeah, indeed we do. The tyres should be able to last the full length of the race still, and I think the big benefit, as we mentioned in the previous race, is that Road America has a lot of straights, so plenty of time for the tyres to cool off if you've overheated them through corners like this one at the carousel. Bradley Holly's view right here. And his ultra wide is obviously quite a big assistance when he's making his way past GT3s. He can actually see them alongside him.
Yeah, I'll never apologise for the fact that I adore this T-Cab. I've never seen anybody else use a T-Cab, but it looks fantastic. And you can see Bradley Holly absolutely locked in there. Nothing is going to get in the way of him this evening. And it's ambient blue there to get him in the mood. He's got the calendar the right way around, but Jake Cummings has got a calendar in the background. He is in more of an office feel, and he is ready to go in the number 95 car. Got the racing top on and everything. Teiji Yankee as well. We've got loads of cameras this evening. Reese, great to see Teiji Yankee. If you were wondering where he was from, well, you can pretty much tell from the background. He is going to be locked in the Drivetrain Motorsport team, and let's see what he can do in this race.
Yep, TJ starting a bit down the order there, 26th overall and 12th in the GT3s, but we've certainly seen him have a lot of adventures in that Mustang along with his teammate Bowie Suin. We're about to get our start going here. Pelchar on pole once again, and the shoe-in for victory, at least so it seems. He'll be hoping that he doesn't have any issues on the way through this race. Rodrigo Abreu joining him on the front row. Let's see if he can get a result that befits his pace.
Pelchar, he's been dominant this season. He leads the championship by a mile, but Road America is a different kettle of fish. He's conquered it for pole. Can he conquer it for 45 minutes over the rest of this field? Well, we will find out as we go to green flag racing for the second time here this evening at Road America. It's a very good start from the championship leader who will lead us away. It's a very good start also from Bradley Holly, who's keeping him very much honest on the run down towards turn 1, but it's a Noah's Ark formation 2 by 2 into turn 1 in behind as they all file their way through. It looks like all of them have made it just about through the opening corners. As we see the start from the GT3s, they're closer than the GT4s were earlier, but it's a great start for Eric Fenson, who sweeps into the lead at turn 1.
Yeah, Ted Lowendick losing out there, and it's side by side for third. William Fenson and Mark Kalin alongside each other, almost 3 wide between the Corvettes, seeing that Chris Stewart and Jake Cummings are really pressuring him. Excellent performance in qualifying for Mark Kalin. We usually see him a bit further down the field than that. Hopefully he can hold on to this.
It's going to be a while, it seems, before the GTPs reach the GT3s with the close start that we've had. But this is the move for the inside. Look at how tight it's getting down in towards turn 5. I said that these GT3s run close, and you can see still fighting their way through the opening lap, 2 by 2 in the back as well. So good to see these guys scrapping over every single position. They are going to be taking every single point that they can. But a clean start nonetheless, and that's good to see, especially with the fighting that we've seen.
Yeah, absolutely. Kalen's still under massive pressure there from Stewart, and he's starting to turn into a bit of a cork in the bottle here as William Fenson and Ted Lowendick start to move away from them. But Eric Fenson holding on to a fantastic lead at the moment, and in the GTPs, Pat Pelchar is under no pressure at all. He's already extending the gap over Bradley Holly through the kink for the first time. A little bit of understeer there for Chris Stewart. Might have turned in a bit too early there. He'll need to sort that out once they get into rhythm. Lap 1 already complete for our GTP leader.
Yeah, and in his little monitor showing him his rear view, you could see Jake Cummings arriving very quickly on the scene, but luckily for Stewart, nothing that the number 95 could do on his way towards Canada Corner to make any indent on Stewart's P5. 43 minutes left, of course, as we, as I mentioned, extend this race, as we can have a look at Jake Cummings and what he is doing on the run up the hill as we start lap 2. Very much concentrating, as you would in the opening stages. Very close quarters with these GT3s. You cannot put a foot wrong.
No, you certainly can't. Cummings' teammate Brett Gardner is steadily marching his way forward. He's already up 5 spots and pressuring Evan Henneman for 13th, so making some good moves so far. Cummings, in the meantime, will have to keep his eyes peeled for maybe his teammate coming up behind him. A little bit of a wiggle there coming through turn 3. Didn't quite nail the exit, but he's still in the slipstream of Chris Stewart and Mark Galen. And they'll be searching for that gap. If you're within 1.5 to 1 second of the car in front, you will be able to do it. As Bradley Holly has had a problem there in the GTPs. He's off the circuit. What has gone on there for the man who started in 3rd? Oh no, his connection's dropped. Bradley Holly with technical problems.
It might be the T-Cam, it's taking too much of the broadband there, but so disappointing for Bradley Holly. I mean, he's had so many issues the last few rounds. You just feel bad for him to a point because it's just nothing that he can do. It's the worst form of DNF, really, in sim racing. Is your internet failing? You've got to feel for Bradley Holly. He will drop to the back of the field and realistically out of this race unless he can get himself reconnected very quickly indeed. No such problems yet though for Ted Lovendick, who is right on the back of Eric Fenson. The 777 had a great race out in Fuji last time out, and he's continuing that form here at Road America.
Yeah, Eric's certainly the form man here, and well, Ted Lowendick will try his best to catch back up. As Eric, looking at the timing screen there, they were just technically passing Bradley Holly as his car is sitting in the pits. Lowendick in the Audi has been pretty strong at these high-speed circuits. Remember how he took pole at Daytona early on in the season? We see Bradley Holly trying to get back in the server now. He'll be wanting to complete the minimum required distance for championship points, and well, we'll see if he can get back into the server and continue on. But this top 3 in GT3, a Fenson Brothers sandwich with Ted Lowendick, the succulent filling at the moment.
Maybe a sign that he's going to find it difficult to get back in. That T-Cam looked like it was coming off, and I think there was a shake of the head as well. So disappointing from for Bradley Holly. A great qualifying performance as well. All to be undone in the opening minutes by the internet that he has. But look at this battle. Jeremy Carter, he set the fastest lap last time round. He's on the back of Alex de Almeida. In fact, he's around the outside of Alex de Almeida, and he's ahead and up into V3 if he can keep it on the track, just about doing so. But in doing so, it's meant that Graham Wildmon is now in the battle, and there's big contact. He's just about kept it righted. How has he not spun around there? And he's in the end only lost 5 places. Even 4.
My goodness. Jeremy Carter with the save of the night for my money, and Graham Wildman looking at passing Nicholas Schwartz here, but it looks like he's given the bump draft to Nathan Ray. What a fantastic run there from the 2 Acuras, and Wildman's going to try at turn 1. He's very deep on the brakes in the Cadillac. He's going to get the position back there on Nathan Ray, but Schwartz now gaining a little bit there. Carter, I'm amazed that he hadn't found the wall or gotten some big damage from that. It was very light contact in the end, so he's still in it.
It's got to be up there with Pato in the Indy 500, saving it through turn 2. I mean, that was absolutely incredible for Jeremy Carter just to keep it going, quite frankly. I really thought he was going to find himself firmly in the wall and spinning around, but he's actually on the offensive against Graham Wildmon. He's going to go to the inside here, down at turn 6. He's going to make that move stick, and far from being spun around, he's going back forwards again, Reese.
Yeah, great recovery from Carter. A bit of a big scare there at the end of lap 3, but he will try and march his way forward again. He's got a very angry pack behind him, though. Wildman is notorious for being aggressive, making those moves, and we will probably see a few more from him as the night goes on. Matthew Denise and Jeff Evans behind in the Acuras looking to take advantage of this fight, but see how much time that these Cadillacs are losing to Nathan Ray and Nicholas Schwartz. Defensive now for Carter on the way down to Canada Corner. He will keep the position there, at least for the time being. Wildman will have to stick behind for now. Speaking of Schwartz, meanwhile, he's caught up to Alex de Almeida and could be looking at a podium spot if he plays his cards right.
He just kind of avoided that big incident, didn't he? And he benefited no end from it. And would be a very good result for him if he can pull it off. Meanwhile, Chris Stewart, he's moved past Mark Kalin for P4 in the GT3s, and that's a good move from him. Richard Saavedra looks like he's going backwards, as well as Bowie Suen. So problems there for the 999 car. Not too sure what's gone on there, but it would be disappointing if it was a similar issue to what we've seen from Bradley Holly. 8 minutes about gone in this race, and we've still got these tight battles. The GTPs have opened out a little bit, but the GT3s, they are as close as they were at the start.
Yeah, they are indeed. The top three in lockstep at the moment. I just went back and had a look at what happened to Richard Saavedra. He just lost it by himself, unfortunately. No other cars were involved, and no one collected him. So he'll at least play on there as Wildman gets past Jeremy Carter once again, and this has brought the Acuras of Denise and Evans right into it. This is such a great pack. I'm loving this.
I'll be honest, I'm surprised really that Jeremy Carter's been overtaken. It looked like he would get past Graham Wildmon and push on, but quite the contrary. Graham Wildmon is back in front, and he of course is in title contention, albeit a long way behind Pat Pelshad, and the gap behind it is at the moment is not going to help at all, but he is still in the hunt mathematically, and he will do everything he can to put himself on the top step of the podium, not just here but in the championship as well. So good stuff from Graham Wildmon. Jeremy Carter having to play second fiddle for the time being, but can Wildmon bridge that gap to Nathan Ray now?
Yeah, well, he's got clear air ahead of him. He'll be able to push at least until they catch up to the GT3s, which incidentally is going to be happening quite soon. GT3 leaders have just made their way out of turn 3 as these guys are out of the final corner. But yeah, with no slipstream benefit, I think it's going to be tough for Wildman to make up the gap. We'll have to wait and see how that works out for him. Now we see Carter under some big pressure from Matthew Denise. Darian Roy in the Porsche is back there in 10th spot as well. The only Porsche 963 in the field at the moment. It is dominated by the Cadillacs and Acuras, and there's a mistake from Carter off the grass, and Carter is going to lose the position to Denise. Might end up losing it to Jeff Evans as well if he can't get this defense on.
Yeah, I mean, look at this between all of the guys. I mean, we don't know where to look at this stage. It's great to see so much action on the broadcast, and it's giving Hugo up in the booth quite a task to get us all the action, because there is so much going on. Ted Lovendick is right on the tail of Eric Fenson, as he has been all race long, but now really starting to turn that screw, starting to apply the pressure and telling Eric Fenson, I'm here, and Eric knows that just behind Ted is his brother William, which I think he'll be more inclined to keep behind. So as they run through kind of the corner once again, a little bit wide for Eric Fenson, looking like he may be starting to feel the pressure somewhat.
Yeah, indeed. A little bit of a mistake there for Eric Fenson through Bill Mitchell Bend. Gives another chance for Ted Lowendick to catch up, and he's a bit deep in the final corner as well. I think we're going to see a change for the lead here. This is going to be crucial, but will Ted Lowendick want the lead? The slipstream gives you an opportunity to save fuel and shorten your pit stop, and Lowendick isn't able to make the move, at least for the moment. Hitting a metaphorical brick wall of air, he's going to lift off and blend back in. I think that's a pretty smart move. He doesn't have to go for those kamikaze dives right now. Sure, he'll need to keep William Fenson behind him, but I think it's better if you're in the slipstream.
This is really bubbling up nicely, isn't it? In the opening 11 minutes or so. Great racing from all of these guys. As we run our way back down towards turn 5 once again. Ted Lovendick, William Fenson, they're both chasing Eric Fenson for the lead here at Road America, on round 7 of 9 in the GTP-GT3 series in PRL here on RaceSpotTV. But Ted Lovendick is going to have to defend, because William Fenson is dancing around the outside at turn 5. He's going to have the outside line for turn 6. So difficult to make the move there. Can he make it stick? The first time tonight we'll have seen it. No is the answer, but giving it a good go, and Ted Lovendick realising they can't just look forwards at the moment.
Yeah, a lot of pressure being put on him by the Ferrari, and the Corvettes behind us starting to make ground as well. Chris Stewart and Jake Cummings doing very well at the moment to stay in touch with the top 3. Saw a change for position further up in GTP as well. Nicholas Schwartz has made his way back past Nathan Ray. Graham Wildman is passing Ray as well. Goodness gracious, side by side into Carousel as they come up on GT3 traffic. That's one of the the Ferraris there. Not too sure who that is, but man, this is really starting to boil over in the GTPs as they encounter traffic for the first time.
Oh, and look at Graham Wilborn going left, going right, nearly running into the back of one of those GT3 cars and just about managing to avoid. Good job in doing so from the 53 car, but Schwartz now really under pressure as they run their way out of Canada corner. There are now GT3s everywhere. They are just in the way if you're a GTP driver, but you've got to negotiate them with ease, and you've got to make sure that the drivers behind you don't take advantage. If you get stuck behind anywhere, through the final corner we go. 1, 2 and 3 should be able to be negotiated down this straight, and Graham Wilborn will keep in the slipstream of the GT3s before diving out to try and chase his rivals.
I think the Ferrari we saw earlier going through the carousel was Corey Fenson, as the move is made back by Nathan Ray just in time to come up on the Corvette. Wildman right there with them. This is a fantastic battle, but I have to talk about an incident that just happened. Unfortunately, Corey Fenson got cleaned up by Jerome Bertiome, lead administrator at the PRL, and I think it was a case of Fenson not quite being able to pick his line on the way down to Canada corner. Further moves to be made here as they make their way out of turn 5, and Ted Lowendick is finding himself right in the midst of all of this. This is what happened here between Fenson and Bertiome. You see that Fenson, man, that's just a poor line choice, I think. Much better to stick to the left and allow the GTP to grab you on the way into Canada corner there, but he decided to go middle of the road as Bertiome was coming up on him. That miscommunication can be crucial. Yeah,
but I'm sure Bertiome would say nobody saw it, so you know, I'm sure that'll be left up to someone. You can see Bertiome there in the pit lane as he has been now for over 1 full minute. But in this battle that we've been watching in the GTPs, it seems that Nathan Ray has managed to steal a march. Nicholas Schwartz got caught up and lost the position, and now Graham Wilborn is all over the back of the number 9 car to see if he can make the move up into P5. Canada corner, not the place where he's going to be able to do it, but the orange machine is on the tail. It's bright in the sunlight, and it is moving around all over the wing mirrors to try and make this move. Let's see what happened in the end. This is what you were talking about. Oh dear.
That's Evans.
Oh no.
Dear. Oh, that's a big incident.
It's like a miscommunication more than anything.
Yeah, well, you know, when you're closed up behind GT3s coming into the carousel and you're all packed together, it can be very difficult to pick your line. These GTPs are so quick. There's a replay here of one of the green Mustangs there getting tapped around there. I think that might have been TJ Yankee that we saw spinning around there. His teammate Bowie Suan was right with him, but is now a few more positions up. Well, now we see Darian Roy trying to catch up to Matthew Denise. Darian, of course, flying the Porsche flag here in the midst of a sea of Acuras and Cadillacs, and the Porsche's straight line speed is looking pretty good at the moment, but he's having to push very hard in the braking zones to stay in touch.
Yeah, but he's doing a very good job in doing so. Look at Darian Roy and Matthew Denny. I mean, they are running so close together. As we're seeing with both series, it is so good to see. And I mean, even if you look at the times in the GT3s, that top 6, we are 15 minutes into this race now, split by less than 4 seconds. So close, and great to be able to watch these guys go at it hammer and tong, because there's been some races this season where the gaps have opened up pretty early and they haven't really bunched back up, but we can see some great racing action here at Road America, and that is why we come here so regularly.
Yeah, I'm really glad that the schedules of both series have aligned, that we get the Road America double tonight. We can really make some comparisons. Oh dear, Darian Roy locking up into Canada corner there. He has lost touch now with Matthew Denis, and Jeff Evans on the recovery after that crash we saw a little earlier will make sure that he is in with a chance of breaking back into the top 9. Pat Pelchat at the front of the field, untouchable, fastest lap by 0.3 of a second as Wildman now gets up the inside of Schwartz at turn 1. They make contact on the inside. Wildman won't be too happy with that. He's on the headlight flash, letting his displeasure be known.
Yeah, it looked like it was a little bit of a close moment, but it didn't seem there was too much. What have you seen?
Gabriel Alvarado has stopped on the inside of turn 3 there. We saw him flash by as the GTPs came through. He's not moving. I think he's had a very heavy crash.
No, and that's disappointing for Gabriel Alvarado, as Graham Wilbon's going to make that move to the inside at turn 5. This is Alvarado, it seems. Oh, and he's going to be stopped on the racing line. Who's going to take him out? It's going to be someone. Oh, yeah, that is TJ Yankee, actually.
Yeah,
so it was Alvarado
TJ Yankee getting cleaned up by Alvarado, yeah.
Yeah. And those two green machines limping now back towards pit lane. But, I mean, you could just see, And it gets to the point where you just cannot see where the other car is going to be until it's too late, isn't it?
Yeah, that's a shame there. TJ Yankee probably would have been better served reversing off the circuit there. I don't know if he stalled the car or not, but these GT3 cars have anti-stall as far as I'm aware, so a bit of a bizarre incident there. Just unfortunate in the grand scheme of things. But up the front of GT3, look who's now in third spot. Chris Stewart has passed William Fenson.
Has passed William Fenson, and William Fenson is now slipping back. He looked for all the world about 5 minutes ago that he may even be able to challenge for P2, but in the end, he has dropped back behind Chris Stewart, who is on a march, isn't he? I mean, he was in P7 on the opening lap. He's already up to P3, and he is showing some fantastic pace throughout this race, and he's definitely going to be one to watch for these top two, because if he starts to make a move soon, they might be in trouble for the rest of the race.
Yeah, may very well be. And speaking of positions gained, how about Brett Gardner? He's made his way up to 7th spot now and is pressuring Mark Kalin for 6th. The steady march forward once again from the second of the Tech Sport Academy by AMS Corvettes. Jake Cummings is trailing off the back of this lead battle. He hasn't quite been able to catch up, but he could have a chance considering that slightly messed up the final corner for William Fenson. Ted Lowendick now right on the back of Eric Fenson for the lead, but again, he's going to stay in the slipstream. He's going to lift off a little more. It might not change specifically the fuel that you take in the pit stop, but it gives you more options as to when you come into the pits.
Of course, as we mentioned earlier, you're not going to have too many options when you're coming into the pit lane, just because of the fact that we're going to be driving less laps than we have been doing at some of the previous circuits that we've been to this season. So if you can widen those options, that is going to give you a very big advantage over some of your rivals if they are restricted to maybe a window of 1, 2, or maybe if they're lucky 3 laps. So definitely some advantages to be gained on the strategy, and we saw it be so important in the previous race. Oh, I thought he was going for the move, but I didn't really think it was going to happen. He went for it and he's lost out because of it, and Stewart's up to P2 already.
Oh no, Ted Lowendick falls out of the podium places with, I think, missing the braking point into turn 5. Thank goodness there's some tarmac runoff there, which doesn't come easy around this circuit. Fortunately, he has managed to stay in contention, but that's just a couple of seconds of extra time that he'll have to make up over the course of the next 25 minutes.
And it's crazy to think that we've still got over half of the race to go. With all the action that we've seen, you'd maybe think, or you'd be forgiven for thinking that we're nearing the end of the race, but we are far from done. And we've got more race still to run now, so William Fenson has still got the chances. He may have lost the position, but he can't do that too much. He cannot run out wide through the kink, and otherwise he's going to come under some pressure from the drivers behind, not least from the GTP working its way through, who I think should be able to get these cars before the final corner, but you can never be too sure. But this is the replay of what we saw from Ted Lowendick trying to make that move. He really sent it. I think it's missing the braking zone there.
Yeah, exactly. Would have been a little distracted by Chris Stewart poking his nose out. The GTP making their way past them at the moment is Bradley Holly, who is fortunately back in the server, and he's now ahead of all the GT3s on track, so occupying the 12th and last position in GTP at the moment. And, well, I don't think he's going to be gaining many more places unless there's retirements in front of him. But crucially for Holly, it's all about getting to the checkered flag and finishing. He's the most successful driver at PRL is Bradley Holly, and consistency of results and not giving up is a big part of that.
There's also a name that I can see now on the permanent power in P6 and the GT3s, which is Brett Gardner. He is arriving on the scene. Of course, we can't count him out. He's championship leader. He comes into this race with about a 23-point lead, I believe. So he's definitely got the pedigree so far this season, and let's see if he can carry it out in this race, starting from the back of the field. That was Pat Pelchat coming into the pit lane from the lead of the race much earlier than most of the other GTP cars, as Chris Stewart now challenges for the lead, and Reese, it is all of a sudden all kicking off.
Yeah, this lead battle in GT3 has been the highlight of the race so far, and one of the highlights of the season for me. Really loving the pace that Chris Stewart has been able to pull off here. He's used the slipstream to great effect to get himself in this position in the first place, taken advantage of mistakes from others like Ted Lowendick to put himself in contention for the win. But does he have anything for Eric Fenson, who has led this race from the very start?
Yeah, let's see if he can hold on to it. It's going to be difficult. He's led more than half of the race, though, so there is that. I mean, if there was any kind of points for leading the most laps, which there isn't, by the way, he might get some kind of award for it. But in the end, doesn't he just gets that little bit of pride, but it only really helps him if he wins this race. You can lead every single lap, of course, but the last. You can lead every single meter but the last. You have to be leading the last to take home all of the points, and Eric Fenson will obviously know that, and he is looking to defend really quite harshly down the main straight, I should say. I nearly called it the back straight there. This is very much the main straight as they come past the pit lane. Chris Stewart with the outside line towards the opening corner. Let's see if he can really use this to his advantage. William Fenson as well in the slipstream, looking to pick up the pieces if anything happens between the top two. Eric Fenson's inside line, will it help him? It looks like it will, but Chris Stewart, he's sticking it around the outside.
What a brilliant run around the outside of turn one for Chris Stewart. Eric Fenson's going to have to give up the position coming into turn three. It's all about straightening up the car, carrying a little bit more momentum around the outside and getting on the power early. That's what got Chris Stewart the move. But it all started at the final corner. Eric Fenson was a little bit slower out of there than he would have liked. More pit stops happening in GTP as, oh my God, he's done a Lowendick. Eric Fenson missing the braking marker, and he's going to come back on track right alongside Lowendick, who made the same mistake at the same corner a few laps earlier. He's down to 4th place.
I think we might have to reconsider calling that the Lowendick now that two people have done it. I don't know who's going to win the trademark. It might have to be who does it next. But quite frankly, it's surprising to see that same mistake from the drivers, as that they've seen their rival do it already. But maybe it's just that difficulty. You do kink slightly left, don't you, into that braking zone. You never know. That might have put some of the drivers off. But regardless, big mistake from Eric Fenson. And now it drops him behind his brother and Ted Lowendick as well. Looking at the GTPs coming out of the pit lane, some of the drivers have pit, most of the drivers have pit even, with Pat Pelchat now back up to 4th, but we are looking back at the GT3 battle, back at P2, and look who is lurking in the background, just about emerging through the frame. You can just see in the background there, the black and red car of the 151 of Brett Gardner. He is arriving quickly.
Yeah, past Mark Kalin a couple of laps ago and is rapidly making his way up. He's able to match the lap times of Lowendick, Fenson and Cummings at the very least. So if these guys battle a little more, then he'll easily catch up to them. Will the GT3s go for the pits? There we go. That's a good move there from Chris Stewart. He's going to be followed in by Eric Fenson there. First two of our GT3 runners to take a scheduled pit stop, aside from Kerry Corcoran and Doug Evans, who did it about a lap ago. So Brett Gardner and Mark Kalin are going to come in as well in those two Corvettes. This is going to be an interesting fight. Who will get the best run through pit lane?
And they all become a little bit more sedate, don't they, as they run down pit lane. Of course, they're on the limiter. It probably feels a lot slower than it really is, considering the speeds that these guys will be doing down many of the straights. But Alex de Almeida will stop. Will he stop on his marks? Let's see how well this is for the number 47 car. Looks very nice and tidy. We've seen a few times this season where drivers have had to reverse. It has happened. It can be a mistake that these drivers make. But Alex de Almeida, he's stopped. He's waiting. He is refueling the car. How quickly can he get out of his box? That time where he's ticking up pretty quickly towards that 16-second mark, and in the end it is. I thought it was going to be 16. In the end, 17.7 seconds in the stop, and he'll emerge in P3.
He will indeed. A fantastic exit from the box, meanwhile, for Chris Stewart. Same pit stop time. In fact, a little bit yeah, actually exact same pit stop time as Eric Fenson, but had a much better exit from the box. I think Fenson just couldn't get the launch control sorted out of that pit lane. So it's granted him a little bit more of a gap to the lead, and it means that these three on screen at the moment, Fenson, Lowendick, and Cummings, there's William Fenson in the number 7 there, they are going to have to nail this pit stop and maybe gain a little bit more besides if they want to challenge Chris Stewart. I think he'll have the effective lead.
Yeah, I think he will at this point. It's really difficult to say, but he has done such a good job, has Chris Stewart, throughout this race, and he has been a man on a mission. Jake Cummings has also been doing a very good job, but he's about to pull into the pit lane. Let's see what he does when he is able to stop. Oh, he just about gets to slow down. And I mean, his face didn't change though, did it? He looks as concentrated as he did from the start, and I thought maybe he'd sit back a little bit in the chair and get a little bit panicked there, but he just about got it stopped. He's just going to trundle his way down to his marks.
Yep, into the lane they come, and now Jake Cummings will see if he can match that 16 to 17 second bracket that we're seeing for the length of GT3 pit stops. It looks like all of our GTPs have made their way into the pits meanwhile, and there hasn't been much of a change in terms of positions there. Cummings is already away. 14 second stops here for Lowendick, Cummings, and Fenson. That's a good response there. The drivers who pitted on the previous lap, they had to stop for a little longer. Chris Stewart is about to come through here. Cummings comes out ahead of them, but Chris Stewart will retake the GT3 lead.
Jake Cummings is up to P2, so a great result for him in all of the pit stops, and he first looks panicked as he exits the pit lane. I mean, he's got a great poker face, I'm sure. I wouldn't want to see him in Vegas by any stretch of the imagination. Through goes Graham Wildmon as he tries to, not lose too much time in this gaggle of GT3 cars. But Jake Cummings, what an undercut. Well, what a pit stop that he had just to jump a couple of the guys in the pit lane. And for Chris Stewart, that undercut has worked an absolute treat. And let's see if he can hold on to this win, because we've got Ted Lovendick fighting it out here as we work our way into turn 5. William Fenson's in the battle as well. I mean, this has been a race for the ages race.
Absolutely has. Chris Stewart has the advantage, but we'll see if Jake Cummings can carry any extra pace than him in the final dying laps of this race. We still have 15.5 minutes on the clock, plenty of time for all of this to be sorted out. I mean, Eric Fenson, who remember was leading the GT3 battle for the longest time, unfortunately now down to 5th spot and falling under pressure from Brett Gardner, who himself had a pretty stable run through the lane. 16.1 second stop for Gardner, and he has an excellent lane time as well. From entry to exit, 46.5 seconds. That's the same as Jake Cummings, who's now in 2nd.
Yeah, good stops are so critical, especially when you get into gaggles, I should say, like we have seen in this race. Chris Stewart and Jake Cummings have played the field tremendously. But once again, I'm going to say, you cannot count out Brett Gardner. He is lurking. He is getting ever closer. That gap to the leader is now only 3.3. It was up at 6 about 10-15 minutes ago. So he is closing while these guys battle. And look at that from Jake Cummings. That was not comfortable whatsoever. And here comes William Fenson with a better exit on Ted Lovendick.
Yeah, Lowendick had to check up on the exit of the corner there, and, well, Williams going to make his way through as the GTP of, I think that's one of the Acuras making their way through. That would have been very tight. Road America, a pretty narrow circuit for its straight line speed, but, well, that's a good position taken for the Ferrari. Now Darian Roy needs to back out a little bit here. He doesn't want to interfere too much in this battle, but he's still trying to chase down Matthew Denise in that Acura.
Yeah, that GTP coming through felt like a bit like an undertake on the motorway there, didn't it? Almost sneaked through on the racing line, but just about got through without any contact as well, which is exactly what we want to see. Turn 5 is where we're at, and this is where the battling is happening with Ted Lovendick on the inside. It's William Fenson on the outside.
Oh, he's got it.
A move, and a controlled move from Ted Lovendick. He's made the mistake down there once already. He's not prepared to make it again, and he keeps himself on the podium, but this is just allowing Jake Cummings that little bit of breathing room.
It is, and you saw as soon as he made the move, Lowendick had a couple of technical problems. He was blinking slightly. That was a convenient time for that to happen. Hopefully Lowendick's connection will remain stable, because it'd be great to see him get a good result from this. So all of this battling has just allowed Chris Stewart to build a nice little gap of about 1.8 seconds. It's crucial because that's just outside of slipstream range. We've seen it in the GTP class. We saw it in both of, well, almost both of our classes in the LMP3s and GT4s before. If you can get the gap over 1.5 seconds, then the cars behind are not able to really catch up to you unless they're clearly faster on pace. And all of these guys are going to be costing each other time as Chris Stewart skips away.
Yeah, and as Brett Gardner starts to skip into the top 5, he's overtaken Eric Fenson on the run through Canada Corner, and he is going to become a force in this battle for P2 in the very near future. There he is, just at the bottom of the screen, as they rise up the hill to start yet another lap here at Road America. With only 12 minutes left on the clock, we are over 2/3 of the way through this race, and time is really of the essence for these guys if they want to make these moves, particularly for the likes of Jake Cummings and Ted Lovendick, who are trying to catch the leader, Chris Stewart, but at the moment to no avail. But for Brett Gardner, he needs every single second he can get because he's moving forward, but he needs that time to make those moves.
Yeah, indeed he does. He'll be hoping that these guys continue to slow each other up as William Fenston ran off track at turn 1 and at turn 3 as well. Jake Cummings now will have to go defensive versus Ted Lowendick. Pulled off a fantastic move, did the Audi on the last lap at this location. He's going to try again, sticks the nose out, gets a little bit of overlap. Cummings sees him coming and gives him a little bit of room, runs wide on the exit and will keep the position for now. That's bringing Fenson right back into it.
Great defense from Jake Cummings there in the 95 car. He just left the door open just ajar, but swooped across just enough to make sure that he stayed on the track through turn 5. There are the live point standings. Gardner leads, but that gap is going to be down to Chris Stewart, who is going to be loving seeing Gardner in 5th, albeit I think he would have liked to have seen him a little bit further down, and knowing that he's nearby won't help his feelings either. Cummings and Lovendick are not too far off the championship battle either, so they'll be scrapping over every single point, and it's good to see that the top 4 of the championship are in the top 5 in this race.
Yeah, exactly. Fantastic to see indeed. I'm just keeping an eye there on William Fenson because he's been running off track on corner exit quite a bit in the last couple of laps. He'll need to be careful not to exceed the incident limit. Remember, we don't talk about it all that much, but there is an incident limit in PRL. You got to make sure to keep your incidents under 17, otherwise you'll get a drive-through penalty. And we don't want our GT3 number 7, our pole sitter, to get that unfortunate run there. Actually, no, not our pole sitter. It was Eric Fenson who started on pole, but regardless, the point still stands. You need to try and keep it clean here if you want to make it to the finish. Lowendick trying to make things a little bit closer here coming into turn 1. He's piling the pressure on Jake Cummings for second.
Yeah, there is no respite for the number 95 car at this stage. Yes, you might have got the undercut of us in the pit lane, but I am not going to let you have any second breath as we finish this race. 10 minutes on the clock, and there is just an ebbing of time away for the likes of Ted Lovendick, for the likes of William Fenson. But can Ted Lovendick make the move? He's going to have to go for the outside line. Let's hope he doesn't outbrake himself yet again on the way down into this difficult braking zone at turn 5. Jake Cummings controlling that inside line. Does he keep it to the apex? He does indeed. And Ted Lovendick not able to get the up and under enough to make the move, although he might have a bit of a look into turn 6. Brave if you go down the inside there, and he's just about going to back out of it.
Yeah, it's a difficult corner to make moves at because you crest a hill and the track flattens out there. So if you come in a little too hot, the load is coming off the tires and you have a lot of trouble getting the car turned in. So good on the both of them to make it through cleanly. But Lowendick, you can see, is clearly faster than Jake Cummings at the moment. Cummings got the advantage through the pit cycle, but Lowendick definitely a lot more comfortable being aggressive in that Audi.
While he's being aggressive, it means that William Fenson and Brett Gardner can stay right where they are in this battle, and if anything, gain a little bit. You could just see Gardner and Eric Fenson going a little bit wide there through the kink. They are pushing every single sinew for every thousandth in this race just to gain any kind of advantage that they can. They come through the Canada corner and up towards the final couple. And there's no moves available for Ted Lovendick on Jake Cummings just yet. You'd say that turns 1, turn 5 and Canada corner are likely your best overtaking opportunities, and I'm sure Ted Levendick will know that. With such a long lap here, we're only going to be looking at another 4 visits to each of them.
Yeah, absolutely. 2 minutes and 5 seconds was Chris Stewart's qualifying time. Same for Lowendick and Fenson, which isn't that far off the LMP3s that we saw earlier on tonight. So yeah, 2-minute lap times. Yeah, considering it was about 8 minutes left on the clock there. Yeah, 4 laps, I think, is the standard for the GT3s at the moment, how many laps they have to the end. Stewart, you can see he's trying to snatch some slipstream from passing GTPs wherever he can to get a further advantage over these guys. Brett Gardner is starting to close in on this fight as well, as Lowendick pokes the nose out and goes deep contact wheel to wheel with Jake Cummings into turn 5, and Cummings will have to give up the position there. William Fenson might stand a chance of getting through as well, but Cummings is late on the brakes and defending.
Yeah, what a move around the outside there from Jake Cummings. I thought for all the world that William Fenson was going to have that one done, but it seemed that the number 7 car got a little bit anxious on the move on the inside and backed out just a touch, allowing the number 95 to sweep around the outside and keep himself in a podium position. But it's going to become ever more difficult as we run through the carousel. There's GTPs looking to find a way through here, but not able to do so at a double apex corner as the carousel, maybe in towards the kink if they are brave. But I think these guys are hoping that they stick in the order that they are, which they do, as they come through the kink and on towards Canada corner. William Fenson now in the driver's seat on the battle with Jake Cummings, because Ted Levendick, he is driven away on this half of the lap.
Yeah, Lowendick taking great advantage of all of that, and little poke of the nose out for William Fenson at Canada corner. He's going to run deep on the exit, and that might allow Brett Gardner a chance to get through at Bill Mitchell Bend. He has the inside, but they make contact, and Gardner has to make a recovery. Loses the spot there to Eric Fenson.
Does lose the spot to Eric Fenson, who is trying to recover because, of course, he was on pole and he's dropped all the way back to where he was in P6, but he's up to P5 once again. 4.3 seconds off the lead is not far for P5 in this series, but you've got to be in front. You've got to have track position, realistically. If you've not got track position, it's going to be difficult to make those moves, as he has found, but he'll happily take a position with drivers finding themselves off of the track. William now leads his brother for 4th and for 5th, but Jake Cummings still holding on that podium position.
Yeah, only just, though. You can tell that that Cummings is a little bit above what his overall pace would betray. So we'll see if he can hold on for the time being. Brett Gardner, he's made a magnificent run up through the GT3 field. Remember, he started dead last, having not set a qualifying lap. But now that he is up to this pack, he's starting to find some challenges here. These cars are proving very difficult to pass. Our overall leader, Pat Pelchat, is now right up alongside them. He's going to nab Gardner on the way up through Hurry Downs and Kettle Bottoms, and he's going to get the move done on Eric Fenson as well. We haven't given much airtime to Pat Pelchat recently, and good reason for that. He's just so far ahead that he can't be caught. Rodrigo Abreu holding on to 2nd place in GTP with 4 seconds being the gap. Aside from that, the only real battle in GTP is between Jeff Evans and Matthew Denis for 7th and 8th spot. This is where the action really is.
Yeah, no, I mean, shout out to Rodrigo Abreu, really, for being up in P2. Of course, he's there or thereabouts in the championship battle for P2. So good to see him having a good race here at Road America. And I think Pat Pelchat will be pleased. His sponsors may not be pleased to be showed on the stream, of course, but that's because he's doing so well, as he has all the way through the season. This battle still absolutely raging on, of course it is, for P4 and P3 between Jake Cummings and William Fenson in the GT3s with only 4 minutes on the clock. Bradley Holly, it's good to see him back in the session and setting fastest lap times as well, despite the fact that he is 1 lap down. Real shame, because it's a what could have been to him tonight.
Yeah, Bradley Holly probably would have been in contention for victory if he'd managed to stay connected and hold on to that pace. Cummings, meanwhile, defensive into turn 1. Here comes William Fenson. Can he get the move done around the outside? The Corvette's going to have the advantage coming into turn 3. We'll have to go a little bit deeper if he wants to secure the position again. He's just going to move ahead by the time they get to the apex, but the exit is going to be compromised. Through is going to come Nathan Ray. He won't interfere too much with that battle, but trying to get the slipstream off the GTP was Jake Cummings. I don't think it's going to be enough. Fenson has the momentum coming down the straight here on the racing line too, coming into turn 5.
There are 4 drivers split by less than a second as they make their way through this corner, and it's just about going to be Jake Cummings holding off William Fenson. Brett Gardner, though, he's found an inside line on Eric Fenson. Can he make that move? He's hit William Fenson in the process, and the brothers are caught up with the championship leader. Brett Gardner's made one move. He can't make 2. Oh, no! It's disaster for Brett Gardner, the championship leader. There's no rear wing on the car.
Oh, Brett Gardner with a massive crash there coming up to Hurry Downs. He was compromised a little bit by William Fenson trying to recover, and Eric Fenson decided it was time to go for the move, but there wasn't any space. Meanwhile, problem for Jeremy Carter there running off at the carousel. Alex de Almeida could stand a chance of getting a top 5 if Carter can't hold on to this.
I think this could almost certainly be called Race of the Season because of all of the drama that we've seen. Look at that massive hit into the wall for the championship leader, and it's going to give Chris Stewart such an advantage. I mean, how big could this be for Chris Stewart? Because he could be leading the championship coming out of this race.
He could be. Got to remember, though, drop rounds. There is one result that can be dropped over the season, and it's your worst result. If Brett Gardner, I think this is going to be Brett Gardner's worst result, and he will drop it. The standings that you're seeing up on screen don't take that drop round into account. Regardless, it is going to be an advantage for Stewart, at least psychologically, as William Fenson, damage from the contact there, is going to make his way into the lane. We saw that battle brewing. Passes by Brett Gardner in the background, who will be absolutely fuming at that incident.
And Chris Stewart absolutely gaining points if he doesn't drop this round by winning the race. So that is absolutely for sure. And he is doing everything he needs to do to put the pressure on Brett Gardner. This now means that Mark Kalin is up in P5. We've not really talked about him throughout this race because he's not really been in the battle. But with all the drama that we've just seen, he's now fighting for people with Eric Fenson as they try and dodge through or dodge the GTPs that are coming through. But the drama, and on the final couple of laps as well, we've only got a minute left, Reese.
Yeah, indeed we do. Mark Kalin put in a great lap in qualifying, and he hasn't been a factor in the GT3 battle for a bit. He's just been running his own race. He's been keeping it clean. That is the Mark Kalin way, and he's profiting from that. Drivers battling too hard and losing spots, and he is potentially going to be in contention for a top 4. A top 5 finish would certainly go down well, though. Seeing William Fenson just making his way past Bowie Suin there. He's back up to 7th spot in GT3 and still pushing the limits on corner exit. Meanwhile, Jeff Evans and Matthew Denise still fighting over 7th and 8th in GTP as the clock runs out. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and we are done for race time. It is now the final lap as Pat Pelchart's just made his way out of turn 3.
Yeah, I mean, he just about, I say just about, it's about 20 seconds or so before the end of the time that he crossed the line. So we've still got a little while of racing left to go. These guys will be on their final lap now, though, as they cross the line. So let's see if they can make any more moves, particularly between Jeff Evans and Matthew Denise, who are fighting over P7 and 8. Not quite as intense as we've seen in the battle in the GT3s, because that has just been something else this race. It has been intense, it has been dramatic, and it has meant that Chris Stewart is going to come out of this race with a beaming smile, I'm sure.
Yeah, beaming smile, absolutely. Well, keep an eye on other cars fighting for places here. Graham Wildman catching up to Jeremy Carter after Carter had his incident through the carousel. Wildman could be looking at a top 4 here. Always spectacular is Graham Wildman. We will see if he has it in him to get the move done here on the very last lap of the race. Canada corner time for Pat Pelchart. I mean, we've seen him in this position so many times before, haven't we, Dara? Up in the lead, no pressure at all. He has been the class of the field once again.
He's been absolutely dominant. This is surely now 1.5 hands on the title. He is going to lead by an almighty margin in the final 2 rounds, because the 919 car wins yet again here at Road America to finish off our evening on PRL Mondays. What a race win for Pat Pelchart, and he's going to win by 8 full seconds ahead of Rodrigo Abreu, who, to his credit, has had a great race in the 14 car to finish in P2. But in the GT3s, what a dramatic night, it's fair to say. Chris Stewart is going to win this race, and also he's going to close that championship gap to at least 6 points. We don't know exactly how it's going to work with the drop rounds, but for absolutely sure, Chris Stewart is going to be riding this battle in the final 2 races.
Oh, absolutely, he is. Just needs to make his way through Bill Mitchell Bend here, and then the final turn at Road America. What a fantastic drive from Chris Stewart. You would have thought from qualifying he wouldn't have been a factor for the lead, but nailing the pit stop, getting himself in the slipstream, and battling cleanly. That's been the crucial part. He is going to be rewarded with the checkered flag, and Chris Stewart is your winner in GT3. How about Ted Lowendick as well, managing to finish in second? He was starting to pressure Chris Stewart on the final lap there.
Really was, but in the end, Chris Stewart just about holds on. Maybe a bit of a fuel issue for the number 15 car. He did come in earlier, didn't he? So possibly a bit of a fuel lift, as we saw in the earlier race. It was, of course, a longer race here, but the fuel tanks are slightly adjusted. Check a flag for these guys now as they will run up to the line. Final few drivers to cross the line.
William
He's had a very slow-moving Eric. Yeah, Eric Fenson running out of fuel. William Fenson, I should say, sorry, not Eric. But that is gutting on the final lap.
Yeah, losing a couple more spots there. I think he might have run out of fuel. Oh, that's such a shame there for William. He's going to crawl to the line, and I think Kerry Corcoran's even going to catch him up here.
Oh, this is the slowest of rolls.
Yeah.
Kerry Corcoran just about, and disaster. Disaster at the end then for William Fenson, who does cross the line. Must have miscalculated on the fuel on the pit stop.
Yeah, must have. Oh, man. You got to feel for the Fensons. After such a fantastic qualifying run, they won't even finish on the podium, but we should go through our GTP results.
And here they are, Pat Pelchat winning yet again for the Solpec Precision Racing QC team. Rodrigo Abreu in P2 with Nathan Ray in P3. Jeremy Carter was 4th, but he was a long way back from the podium sitters, with Alex de Almeida following him home quite close. Graham Wildmon, championship contender, but can we really call him that anymore after a P6? That gap is going to be large. Jeff Evans and Matthew Denise, they had a good battle over 7th and 8th. Darian Roy, a race on his own to finish P9, and Bradley Holly, after his early internet issues, he was the fastest man on track in the end, but he only finished in P10. Nicholas Schwartz, Carsten Quint, Jerome Bertiome, and Kevin Santana, none of them reaching the flag in the GTP category. Over in the GT3s, though, it was a big race in the championship, and I think this is going to be the one that we point to and say this is where the championship swung. Chris Stewart wins it ahead of Ted Lovendick and Jake Cummings on the podium, but that was not the story of the race when you look at those gaps. Eric Fenson and Mark Kalin in P5, and I think it's fair to say stealing that P5 towards the end of the day. Sean Murphy in P6 a long way back, with Bobby Sue and Evan Henneman, Richard Saavedra and Doug Evans rounding out that top 10. Quite a few more drivers in this category, but only 2 more finishers. Kerry Corcoran and William Fenson, after running out of fuel, can only finish 12th. Teji Yankee, Travis Pruitt and Sean Stecker a lap down, with Brett Gardner crashing in the closing stages, Gabriel Alvarado and Corey Fenson not seeing the flag. But dramatic race for his, as I said, probably race of the season, but in the end, the man who was serene in all of it was Pat Pelchat.
Yep, and he joins us now for a chat. Congratulations once again, Pat. It looked like a bit of a quiet race for you, but I'm sure it wasn't the same from behind the wheel.
Oh, no, it was not. Honestly, preparation this week, again, I was busy. I was on vacation, so I didn't have much time to practice. I started running my first laps like yesterday. So, yeah, it was okay. Rodrigo was fast tonight. Like, honestly, I gotta give it to him. He was on pace, and he kept me pushing.
Yeah, certainly did. And Road America, obviously a track where you can make up great time on the GT3s on these long straights, but those fast corners proved a challenge as well.
Yeah, they did. Traffic here is very hit and miss. Like, if you manage to hit the traffic in the straights, like, it costs almost nothing. And if you hit it in the middle part of the track, it was not. It was costing you a lot of time. Traffic was, I'd say, okay. Yeah, I did the best I could, but traffic is always usually my strong suit, so I think I made the best of it.
You certainly did. One hand on the trophy with 2 rounds remaining. Pat, thanks for joining us and congratulations on another win.
Thank you very much. Got to thank again Max Muir, my teammate this week, for the set and setting the pace. I think he has the world record this week. So yeah, we're looking good for the championship.
Indeed you are. Pat Pelshar winning for Solpec Precision Racing. Next up, it looks like we won't be joined by Rodrigo Abreu, Dara, but we do have Nathan Ray with us. You're going to have a chat to him here.
Yeah, Nathan, congratulations on the result. Big race for you. It looked like a bit of an exciting one in the GTP series, or the GTP group, I should say. Let me start that sentence again, I'm so sorry. Walk us through that race, because it seemed like the strategy was pretty monotone for a lot of those guys, but were you ever close to fuel?
No, I was chilling on fuel. Like, I took a little bit more than I normally would have, just knowing that I wanted to have a little bit of cushion should the over-under on the over at the undercut, potentially not work out in my favor if I caught like a GT car in an outlap of the inlap, for example. The main thing was just like taking care of the tires. The track temps were outrageous compared to what I've been practicing with all week. So I had to very quickly tonight adjust to 10-degree hotter track temps.
Yeah, that must have been a nightmare. We were talking about it on the formation lap, that it was, near Death Valley temperatures on the tarmac. But, I mean, it also looked like a bit of a lonely race for you. Were there any problems in keeping that concentration level high?
Not particularly. It was pretty dicey early on. The first or second time we were going through traffic, there were some real close spots, and just about lost the rear of my car at some point when, everyone just concertinaed, and I almost got run over in the just coming out of the kink. So it was just a game of, after that, just like relaxing and just basically coasting it into the end.
You coasted very nicely onto the podium, and with only 2 rounds to go, Barcelona and Le Mans, looking forward to either one of those tracks?
I have never really enjoyed Barcelona, truth be told, but it's been quite a while since I've driven it, and from what I remember, we're doing the historic layout without that final chicane. So hopefully that's a little bit better. Le Mans I always enjoy, but everyone seems to be a Le Mans specialist, so it's just be a game of save fuel and try not to get held up in traffic.
Well, hopefully you have a good result in both of those, and we get to speak to you again, Nathan. Pleasure to talk to you, and good luck in the few races we have left.
Thank you, guys. Have a good one.
Great to talk to Nathan Ray, P3 man in the GTP series, but we've got our winner and a man who really took a big step towards a championship challenge tonight, Reese.
Indeed. Chris Stewart is with us at the moment. Sorry, forgot to unmute my mic there. Congratulations, Chris. Qualifying obviously wasn't a true reflection of your race pace, just out-racing everyone around you as they battle amongst themselves.
Yeah, man, I don't know what it is. I just seem to do better when the race gets going and just have an opportunity to kind of get into the zone and kind of get into a flow and get after it a little bit.
I think another big part of it was you absolutely nailed the pit stop there. The exit from the box was really crucial there. So obviously you've done some practice with launches there.
I wish I could say that I did. Truth of the matter is, with this one, I show up and for the practice session and get as much out of it as I can and just have a lot of fun racing with these guys. There's so much fun to race with every week. So for me, that's kind of what it's all about, just having a good time with these guys.
Well, you'll be hoping for a good time at Barcelona next week and at Le Mans to finish the championship. Let's see if you can get it done in those last 2 rounds.
Absolutely. And can I just say, this race was for my buddy Martin Crisp from SimCity Racing. He's going through some stuff, and this one, my man, this was for you.
Great stuff from Chris Stewart. Thanks for joining us, mate, and congratulations.
Thanks, guys.
Chris Stewart with the win there in the GT3s. Ted Lowendeck, Dara, what a fantastic drive. Once again, finishing second.
Yeah, welcome in, Ted. Congratulations on the P2. That was quite a race. It was quite a battle. I mean, there were times where you were in P2, 3, 4, 5. I mean, how was it for you? Because it looked like a very stressful race.
It was stressful. I got you know, the Ferrari is really quick in a straight line, and I didn't have anything for him, so I saved a lot of fuel. And then I got beat by someone who saved even more fuel in the pit stop, so lost some time there behind him. Tried to catch up to Chris at the end, didn't make it, but yeah, it was a lot of fun. A lot of good battles, a lot of fun racing. It was a good time.
But I mean, with 5 laps to go, if you were told that you would get P2, you must have taken that. It was so close. There were a couple of times you went deep at turn 5. I mean, how difficult really was it in those close proximity to kind of spot the braking zones and make sure that you weren't kind of knocking into each other because it was such tight quarters?
Yeah, I'm always afraid I'm gonna like miss the braking point, right, and hit the car in front and then send them off the track, and I don't want to do that. So I'm always like find myself braking a little bit earlier than I should. But yeah, I mean, it was a good race. Great points night. Lost some points there to Chris in the championship, but hey, we both gained on the leaders, so that's the important part. And we'll come back next week. I believe we're in Barcelona, and hopefully we'll do another good race there and take it to the last race of the season.
And are you looking forward to Barcelona and Le Mans in the next couple of weeks, because you do have that momentum behind you at the moment?
I kind of like Barcelona. I don't enjoy it. And then me and Le Mans have a very love-hate relationship, so it's gonna be a fun time.
Well, wishing you all the best, Ted. Thanks for joining us, and hopefully we'll speak to you again in the rest of the season.
Thanks, guys. Have a good evening.
Great to talk to Ted Levendick again after his podium for the number 72 car, fully deserved, and good to talk to our P3 man as well, Reese.
Yes, Jake Cummings is with us now. That was a bit of a tough one there for you, Jake, having to work your way up from further on back, but consistency and aggression paid off.
Yeah, I mean, it's never really the kind of race you want to have. I was honestly more impressed with the strategy that we deployed to just not get too involved in the battle at the front and just kind of hang on right at the end of it and just save some fuel. And that, I mean, that helped me get up to second in the pits from, you know, I think I was fifth going in, so really good there with the not having to take as much fuel. But yeah, I mean, I didn't quite have the pace to then keep it, and especially after losing the slipstream off of Chris after a few mistakes on the outlap, it was really hard. And yeah, so I raced hard at some people raced really hard with me, and I mean, it ended up being all right for me. Not so good for my teammate. That kind of sucked. But yeah, a decent result. Just too bad that the 2 people that finished in front of me were the 2 people I'm fighting with in the championship.
Well, there's still 2 rounds to go. Barcelona is next up, of course. Do you have any thoughts on that place? And do you think you and Brett will be able to come back there?
Yeah, I mean, we should be good. To be honest, I wasn't even supposed to be here tonight. I was supposed to get on a flight to Orlando, but with the hurricane coming through, it got canceled. So I was like, I guess I'm doing this now. And didn't get much practice, but it went all right. Barcelona should be fun, especially with the historic layout that we've started going back to. Really hard to get clean passes off there because of there aren't really any low speed zones. So it might be a bit feisty there as well. And at Le Mans, I think I rescheduled my flight to go over that, honestly. So it's really just Barcelona, and then hope the drop week is enough. But yeah, I think we'll be all right there.
Excellent stuff. Well, regardless, 3rd is nothing to sneeze at, Jake. Congratulations, and hopefully see you next week.
Thank you, guys. Have a good night.
Jake Cummings from Tech Sport Academy by AMS, rounding out our driver interviews there, Dara. Another great night of racing in PRL Sports Car Mondays. Once again, we go to Barcelona next week and round out the championship at Le Mans. Looking forward to both of them.
Yeah, it should be a good couple of races, and it's just so nice to see Jake Cummings there at the interview. We were able to get him up on stream and see his reaction to the race. So nice to see, and we thank all of our drivers who do give us their POVs and their face cams, because it really does add something to the broadcast. But as you said, Reece, really looking forward to the last 2 rounds. Barcelona, Le Mans, they should be crackers. The championships are tightening. They are looking really quite exciting, and with only 2 rounds to go, who knows which way it's going to go. 7 days' time could be a clean clincher for some of the championships though, so make sure you tune in when we roll in to Barcelona for the GTP and the GT3 series, along with Hockenheim for the LMP3 and the GT4 challenge. Myself, Darren Thacker, Reese Gardner up alongside me in the commentary booth, and Hugo Luis making the broadcast. We thank you all very much for watching on RaceSpotTV and hope we see you in 7 days' time when the PRL returns on a Monday night.